All right, all right, all right. Let's see. I want to put the Zoom link in the chat. You dig? How you do that? The invite. All right. That's not how you do it. It's participant. Copy invite link. Then we're gonna go here. What's up, my brother? Chilling with the Charles. Charleses. Thomas, brother Thomas. How's everything on your side, man? How's the beautiful wife and them babies? Oh, I just read that it's finally out. Man, congratulations, brother. When man, look, I just put the Zoom link in the thing. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna see if I can pin it. See if I can pin it. Pin message. But man, jump on the link, brother. Tell me what's going on, man. If y'all making y'all way to SA soon and very soon, or if y'all making y'all way to Cape Town or Joburg. I think y'all spent a little more time in Cape Town, if I ain't mistaken, Brother Charles. Kyra Bone. I don't know if that's Kyra as in the first name or if it's Kyra Bone Kai. Shout out to you. Shout out to you for tuning in. We got 8 people here. We're gonna get started when this thing get a few more people in this thing. We just gonna talk and have us a good time. It's Saturday night. I ain't got nothing going on. I said, man, let me commune and communicate with my people. If you're watching this, the link to the Zoom is in the chat. So if you would like to communicate directly and join in, and we could have a personal. You look how cozy I got it in here. That's why I called it Asad's Fireside Chat. Look at cozy. It's cozy. It's all romantical. Yeah, yeah. I done shaved my beard. Y'all said I shaved my beard. Everybody telling me I look younger. I said, damn, what I must have looked like I was 90 years old when I had the beard. Y'all got me feeling some kind of way. Like I used to think my beard looked good. I know sometimes I let it grow and look like I sleep outside, but that's my, rugged, sexy look. This my professor. I got a PhD look. People take it seriously when you put on the glasses too. Oh yeah, yeah, they think it's buku small. Oh, the name is Caribou. Okay, the surname is Caribou. The first name is Nakabindi. Nakabindi. I think that's a sound. I think. Jump on the thing and let me know. Y'all see I got the Zoom link thing, um, whatchamacallit, pinned up there. So we got 10 people. We're gonna really get started when we get 20. Or if somebody decide to jump on the live and hold it down and have a conversation. So in the meantime, between time, I trust everybody's having a good Saturday. It's a Saturday night here in Joburg. It's 9:30, but it's probably 1:30 Central Time, 2:30 in on the East Coast. And then what? 11:30 on the West Coast in the morning. I mean, yeah, in the AM. All right, let's see. We got 12 people in here. The Zoom link thing is pinned. So if you want to join the Zoom and join the conversation, let's talk. Let's have a good time. We'll sit here for an hour or two and BS on this Good Friday. Let me show to my brother Thomas right there. He jumping on. All right. Brother Thomas, you are on mute. Unmute. Boom, there he is.
What up, brother Asad?
Man, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. Doing good.
Now tell me
About
what's
that
going on.
time, man, can you believe I've been trying to get a remote job this whole time?
What?
Yes. I mean, I've been working with, the company I've been working with for a while and,
Uh-huh.
doing some things on the side, but remote, that's been almost impossible. It's
You,
been difficult. I done had to change industries just to get a remote job. I had to leave IT.
wow, for real? So did you
Hmm.
finally get one?
I just started on Monday. I mean Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations.
This was been the missing piece for a minute.
So this is now digital nomad visa.
Nah, because
Uh-oh.
I was gonna ask you about that because with that visa now, it's required that your job signs off on and know that you are there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, oh,
yeah.
oh. So you know what? I didn't know that aspect of it. I do know that there's some tax implications also, which means that a lot of people. I don't really think the taxes situation is really as daunting as people make it. But when you
No,
start hearing like I got to pay taxes in the SA and America, it just we like I don't want to pay taxes anyway. You know what
yeah,
I'm
right.
saying?
There are ways around
So
that. If you
so
know how to do your taxes or know something about taxes, then you ain't gonna worry about that. It's more so like these companies don't want you in other places because of the tax implications they have.
and as
And
well
they
as
don't care
the
about you paying your tax.
right, as well as stuff like workers comp. Like if you get
Yeah,
hurt in another country, how
mhm,
does that work out or whatever have you? So
yeah,
fortunately, like some jobs are just aware that you're away. Some jobs don't care. They'll say that it's
mm,
remote in the US, but they really don't care as long as you keep a US based address, right?
right.
So but with that being
Mm,
said, as it's just the income that you needed to be able to
yeah,
move because if you want to look at like artist visa or
yeah,
something like that, you have that option to prove that you can be able to sustain yourself while you're
yeah.
here. Yeah.
So the visa we contemplating on is visitors visa. We already have a plug on that. Our friend is an attorney and everything. We already spoke to an immigration attorney on like a week, two
Okay.
weeks ago. But the only issue is my biggest issue. I don't want to be. I'm not like a lot of people my age, especially. I'm not trying to move there to be a consumer. You know what I mean? Of their
Yes.
economy and the benefits that come with it. Us having an American dollar, I want to contribute towards their economy. So my
Absolutely.
issue with the visas that are easier for us to get with our income situation
Yep.
do not provide us the opportunity to open a business and help contribute towards the economy and hire people, get them jobs. Because we got to, if we come out there, the least we can do is help people get some jobs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or create opportunities for people. So that's currently our biggest hurdle right now. It's like what visa can we choose so we can still open a business? And it would just be something like a restaurant starting off, something like that. That's my background. Restaurant hospitality. So
So I think one way you can do that is if you partner with a South African to open
mm,
that business and,
would they have to be
and
51% owner though?
something
That's
like
the only
that. Yeah. So I
that's the
think
only
it's something
concern.
like that. But with that, it's like you are investing into their business basically. So
Got it. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean that's one way if you want to jump into the business world. But the way I look at it,
Mm,
man, it's like once you get here, right, there are opportunities that will arise that you may have to change your visa status or whatever have you.
okay.
But once you're able to kind of work around and actually be here
Mm,
for an extended period of time, I know y'all come stay a month, stay 2 months or whatever have you, but when you actually here, you start networking and meeting people and actually seeing the opportunities that you think you can fit in, then you can
yeah.
kind of make those decisions or whatever have you.
Okay.
I think that's
'Cause I
probably
know
the
people that
best.
own restaurants there. I'm not sure. Well, no, because you spent a short period of time in Cape Town. This guy named Pito. He owned Pito's Kitchen in V&A water near V&A Waterfront, Maker's Landing. And
Uh-huh.
it was beautiful. Oh my God, it was a beautiful restaurant. He shut it down because of the construction started causing issues with his the people coming in, his visitors. So he
Uh-huh.
shut that location down. I think he was having a hard time recovering from it because of that. But he still has catering. He has other establishments, and he's opening one in another one in Johannesburg. Actually, he's coming to Johannesburg right now. He built one
There's a
near
brother.
Waterfall. I think.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sorry.
right up the street. Yeah, waterfall right up the
Yeah.
street. So there's a brother who used to own a restaurant called Zuri.
Mm,
This is a caveat that I want to make. It's you can I think you can own a business, and maybe my South African family on here, or we got a lot of people. I'm gonna give y'all a shout out in a second. Let me just finish this thought. But I think you can own a business here, and
mm,
getting the business visa is two different things, right?
oh,
It's like to be here on a business visa is one thing, but you have people who own a business here who just don't live in South Africa. They live
okay.
elsewhere. You see what I'm saying?
Huh,
Um,
that's a
so
good.
yeah, it's many people like that, right?
Huh.
Who own um apartments, Airbnbs, and they
Hmm.
there's one sister who owns a guest house and stuff like that, and they don't live here.
They probably don't even have a visa.
Yeah, they don't even live here. So,
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? They just own a business here. And I think they're partnered with a South African or whatever. You have to, I think that is part of it. Like, and you have to employ so many, South Africans or whatever have you. So,
of
and
course.
that's what you want to do. You want to come here and to be able to say, I'm creating jobs for folk or whatever have you. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing.
Yes,
So,
especially in the rural
so,
area. I think.
so how the time frame, what's your time frame looking like?
My goal is July.
Okay.
So I want to come there off season so I can save money on tickets, save monies on a
Yep.
temporary accommodation.
Hmm.
Some people I've seen people coming in December. I'm like, you done lost your mind. This is not the time to move. This is not the time to move there. You are inexperienced in SA if you're going like ain't no Airbnbs available. If they are, they expensive. And
Right.
a lot of places on even Property 24 and privateproperty.com, they not, they trying to rent, you know what I'm saying, on Airbnb to make some
Yep.
money right now too. So
Right.
the inventory is not good right now. It's the worst
Right.
time to try to move there. So that's why July off season probably our that's our goal right now. Of course, it's contingent upon like achieving certain things, timing and stuff like that. But
All right. Somebody corrected us, brother. They said, no, I don't think it's 51%. Normally it's 30%, but I don't have any knowledge about it. Just do more
okay,
research on it. So it may not be 51%, but I
okay,
do know that it has to be some percentage of South African ownership.
perfectly fine. I just didn't like. I know the 51%. I think I got that from yeah, like when you get some type of assistance from opening a business in SA or something or doing movie productions. I thought it was like across the board. Like if you're gonna do something in SA without being a resident, this is how you have to do it. So
Yeah.
maybe that. Okay, okay.
Okay, so
Um, news.
one person is saying uh, you only need a passport to register a company, but I don't know all the dynamics on the visa processes. So that's what I was
Okay.
thinking. I know people who actually own businesses here who live abroad.
Mm,
They haven't been to South Africa in maybe 2 years, but they actually still
right.
run a company here.
They just come
So
off their passport's power.
yeah, they come in, stay there 90 days, and then pop out.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I ain't trying to do that. I'm trying to
So the question I want to know is it Cape
stay.
Town or is it Josie?
We still ain't been to Johannesburg.
Oh,
We still ain't been there. It's just we built like a I think we live in Houston. So it's like we live. I mean, it's somewhat Houston's so big you would think it's a landlocked city.
yeah.
It's not though. You know,
No,
we
no. I
right there on
remember
the
Capitol
coast,
Beach.
man.
Yeah.
We right on the coast, but it feels like we landlocked, and we've always wanted to experience being like near the beach, something like that. Not saying it's permanent because I've seen, Johannesburg's a newer city and it's obvious. You can see it. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot greater investment opportunities and near Johannesburg, the homes are absolutely immaculate especially for the price. Oh my
For
God.
the
You're
price,
not
yeah.
getting you're not getting that in Cape Town. No,
No, no. Cape Town's
not even.
expensive.
Cape Town is expensive for all of us.
Yeah.
But but we're looking outside of the inner city of Cape Town though. So that's what's making us more comfortable with that decision, especially having kids now.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it's I mean, we've adjusted, we felt how tight things have gotten over here. Everybody in a deficit, income deficit now. Like at
Absolutely.
one point it was like check to check for
Yeah.
everybody. But now it's like we move bills around to make it.
Damn.
And yeah, yeah. It's not like me and my wife don't get paid good. We get paid pretty good, especially
Yeah.
compared to what the average is. We're well above the average income, but it's just it just ain't. It's still not enough. It's
Yeah,
nobody aside. Nobody in our neighborhood. We live in a pretty big neighborhood in Texas. Man, when I tell you we have 7,000 homes in here in our neighborhood,
yeah.
in our subdivision, I'm telling you, I barely see Christmas lights. Ain't nobody even putting up Christmas lights. Can't
That,
afford to
that
do it.
that's that's indicative of what Christmas is looking like because of the money
Yeah.
of that income, man.
Yep. And my
Yeah.
wife, she works for a luxury brand, luxury jewelry brand.
Hmm.
She said it's Christmas right now. Normally she's busy. She said business got to be down at least 50% or more. She said it's just
Wow.
not. So it's I know you reading a lot over there, but man, it feels weird over here. It's eerie. It's eerie.
Mm,
It's so eerie. It's so weird.
man.
So uncomfortable. Talking to you, it's
Yeah.
hard to meet people because the forefront of everybody mind in America. Because this is what I've been telling people lately. Because me and you, we speak the same language in a lot of ways. I'm not as eloquent in my wording as you are, but
I ain't
uh,
never been called eloquent.
see, look, you can probably tell me exactly what that means. I know what it sounds like in me. No, I'm just playing. But so what I tell you, like, it's strange because America has done very good at dividing and conquering everywhere else, right? In
Hmm.
America, like, Americans been like this. I'm like, y'all crazy. You think that
Mm,
they want that magnitude of power over other people's country without doing it to their own worse than anybody else?
yeah.
I'm like, you come on, you can't, you gotta think, man. I'm like, we can't even get along because of the sports teams we like.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying? Like what city we live in versus the other city in the same state. I'm
Hmm.
like, we more conquered, they've conquered and divided and conquered us more than anywhere else tenfold because we at home,
Exactly.
you know? And I'm like, this is why we got into this place to where it's hard to socialize because everything is something to disagree on. And we do not like being around people we disagree with nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's very odd. People aren't socializing like they used to because they still hustling and try to make ends meet. People that do
Yeah.
well are hustling. And it's very eerie. It's like everyone lives in an individualized world right now. It's very strange.
Especially with the advent of the internet, social media, people are more and more isolated. But I tell you what, I'm I talk to my friends. I got my line brother lives in Houston.
Yeah.
So I talk to my line brother.
Oh
I
yeah.
talk to folks still in the States every day. And they're echoing the same thing that you're saying. Like, bro, it's getting hard over here. People who thought I was crazy for moving to South Africa are now like, say, bro, I got to get out of the U.S. They 3 years ago, they was like, man, you tripping, bro?
You
What you
crazy.
doing, man? You going to
You
Africa?
gonna
And I'm
take
like,
your
bro, y'all
kids over there and your wife?
right. And I was like, man, I saw the writing on the wall, homie. But
Mm-hmm.
now they're like, I need to come. I need to check it out. And even if they're not talking South Africa, they're talking Nairobi.
Somewhere.
They're
Mm-hmm.
talking Panama, places that like just we got to get out of the United States.
They in that
And
beginner stage of research. That's all. They in the beginner
yeah,
stage. They still talking about this side of the world. I'm like, you ain't learned. You don't know no better yet. This you still looking at this side of the world. You just still don't understand the point of this.
you know what it is though. One brother said he's thinking about moving to Mexico, and because it's right across the border, and he's like, if I need to get home to my people, it's a quick flight. And I'm like, look, dog, I understand that, and it will be. You can't change the distance, but if you move to
Right.
Johannesburg, you talking about one flight from Josie to Atlanta.
A
That's
flight
it.
is a flight. That's what I keep telling people. I'm like, I don't care
Yeah.
how far away you are. You can't just walk around the corner or drive down the street regardless. A flight is a
Hmm.
flight. A couple
Exactly.
hours of not being in control of how fast you get somewhere ain't gonna change. The fact that it is what it is. You still gotta book it and wait regardless.
Right.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? So
Exactly.
that's why I'm not really. My wife was concerned about the distance at one point, but I'm just like, okay, that ain't gonna change nothing. Yeah, it take a little longer to get there, but you still ain't in the driver's seat regardless.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. And
So
and and the life, man. I'm gonna tell you. You got two babies now, right?
yeah, we done now.
Yeah. You say you done.
We
That's
done.
it.
I'm done now.
I was trying to convince my wife to have one more. She said, "Boy, you sound crazy. Boy, we are old people now."
You
But
you recently asked?
Oh yeah, like last I'll be asking all the time because like I tell you what, brother, I'm this sidebar. Them babies grow up fast.
They do.
Like when one day you're holding your baby and you're kissing on them, you're changing the diaper, and the next day you're buying them iPhones. I just bought my son an iPhone today. So it's like it like that
Mm,
before you know
mm,
it. So sometimes I just get like, damn, I wish I had a little baby around the house or whatever
yeah,
have you. But with that being said, I'm so glad I was able to get like if you get your children out, they're still in single digits, right?
yeah. Mm.
And
The
I
oldest
was
two.
glad I was able to get mine out as early as I did because I see the difference in them as who they're
Mm,
surrounded by, the type of stuff they're thinking about doing, the type of stuff they're into. I listen to my
wow.
son talk. Like I'm a New Orleanian, so I mess up words. You know, I have a different accent and everything. I listen to my son talk. You talking about eloquent. My oldest son is
Mm,
just he's eloquent. His word choices or his choice of words
yeah.
just totally different from then when I was 15, his age. What he's impressed by versus what I
Mm,
was impressed by. I'm from that era where I wanted to be hard and gangsters. That's not even on
mm.
his mind. He looks at me when I start talking crazy like that. He's like, "What are you
Yeah, what's
talking
wrong with
about?"
you?
Yeah,
Looking at you like you're an American foreigner in his
right.
country.
Because we were at a restaurant yesterday
Oh
and they had
Lord.
these kids. They looked like they looked younger and they were drinking some Savannas. So my
Mm,
wife was like, "Oh, look like they drinking Savannas. They look mighty young." So I turned around and I'm looking, trying to, and my son was like, "Dad, you're going to make the people feel uncomfortable." I was like, "Well, can they beat me up?" Son, can they beat me up? If they can't beat me up, I'm not worried about them feeling uncomfortable. And he was just like, "Dad, come on, you have to
wow,
you
that's
have to be
crazy.
civilized."
Hold on.
So,
Oh, kid,
uh,
man.
but
Do
so
you
I
know
really
it's so funny?
I appreciate what South Africa has done for my children. More than what it's done for me. What it's done for them is giving them a different worldview. You
Look,
know,
and here you can't hide from it here no more. I'm telling you, we live in Katy. You know where Katy is, right?
yeah,
You've been to Katy. We met. That's where we met. We met
I
in
like
Katy for the
Katie
first
though.
time,
I ain't gonna lie. I don't know how it is right now, but I used to like Katie.
and we in the new one of the newest neighborhoods in Katy. We got a, the lagoon like at waterfall.
Yeah.
We got one of them in our neighborhood, right?
Okay.
Beautiful. It's huge. Got two schools in the neighborhood, right? I'm talking about when the lagoon opened. We went there as kids. They got their big chains on, earrings.
Yeah.
I got locks, but they locked up too. They in
Yeah.
there talking about, "Man, I got that stick on me." I'm like, bro, you in the pool. Can you just relax? Can you relax? You in the pool swimming, talking about something, you got the stick. Come on now. But this neighborhood, I'm talking about kids that are 7, 8 years old, stealing bikes and painting them, selling dope in the neighborhood. And we live in a neighborhood where houses starting at 400,000, 500,000.
Yeah. Katie is the
That's what
like
you can't
the
hide from it no more.
yeah.
It's a
Wow.
it's you can't hide from it no more because it's like, we used to relate that with poverty. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? They used to be related from like where you from, in New Orleans, whatever
Right.
ward you from the east side of Detroit. For me, I don't know if
Right.
you forgot, I'm from Detroit. So like we related that to the impoverished areas, where the areas
Right.
where our people are redlined to stay in. You can't,
Right.
that's not how it is anymore. These people have
It's now
come up,
cultural.
or it's not. It's not. No, it's not location based anymore either.
Yeah.
Because and you also have people that have gotten into real estate and they rent their house out or putting it on what's it called? Babe, what's it called? The houses, underprivileged people can get the grants to get the house. What's it
Section
called?
8.
Section 8, right. So
Yeah.
Section 8 house in our neighborhood. Got
Yeah.
multiple. Guess who
Yeah.
moves into them?
Yeah. There's people on Section 8.
And just straight from where they come from, they selling dope out the house. The kids
Yeah.
walking around talking, "Man, you need some weed? I got 20 pounds of weed, 10 pounds of weed at the house. If you need some weed."
Wow.
Kids, they 7, 8 years old. But that's just how these communities are being destroyed. Not blaming it on our people specifically or anything. It's just
Yeah.
like, you can't hide from these things anymore like we used to. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You have to,
No.
and that's why the lower class, it feels they're trying to get rid of the middle class. That's very obvious. That's the target.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's almost like we merging together already.
Hmm.
We sharing the same spaces already.
Exactly.
So it's really strange, and that's how it's all gonna feel. They all want us to depend on the government because we are already right there.
Well,
And now
what
once AI do its thing, oh, it's gonna
it's
be
over for a lot
there's
of
no other
people.
way.
Yeah.
There's
So
no
like
other
it's
way.
like this, man. There's a few things that crossed my mind as you were talking. Like, first of all, the 50-year mortgages that Trump floated, which is telling me you
Lifetime
don't want
rental,
people to ever own their homes, right? And then you
lifetime
have
rental.
all of these corporations that are going around buying up single family homes. They're not buying apartment complexes; they're buying
Yep.
single family homes, and people are now becoming permanent renters, right?
Yeah.
Which means you can never gain equity in a home. You can never borrow against that to send your kids to school. You know, it is just like crushing the middle class.
Yeah.
But to your point about people, like the culture. So there's this lady who was my professor in undergrad. Name is Heidi Daniels. She's a psychologist by training and profession, but she was my teacher. And
Okay.
she was on the school board. Her husband was a lawyer, black middle class. Would you say black excellence, right? Her
Hmm.
son was, I think, 15 or 16 years old. And he was doing what a 15 or 16-year-old boy should do, go and meet
Yeah.
a girl at her house or whatever. She happened to
Hmm.
live in the hood, right? But New Orleans
Hmm.
is a big hood, so you can't really escape. Like,
Well,
she could live in the hood, but she could have great parents. It's just she just live in the hood.
yeah.
But anyway, somebody was jealous. He's talking to this girl and shot and killed him out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's the story. Like, he's not a gangster. He's not a thug. He's not selling drugs. He's in a good school. He has good
Right.
parents. And the violence comes to that culture of
Something that simple.
violence will come to you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying it
Yeah.
doesn't happen here in South Africa, but one thing that we're
Condensed to the
able to
township,
do,
though, right? For the
say it
most part,
again,
it's condensed to townships, though.
even if it's not in the townships, which technically
Okay.
most of it is, but where we live, we're able, just be frank, it's the American dollar that affords us the ability to put our children in private schools
Yeah.
and in gated communities and all of that good stuff,
Of course.
the stuff that we really didn't have access to, or if we had access to it, we were like literally struggling to pay it. That check to
Hmm.
check, robbing Peter to pay Paul. You have no life. You just have to work to maintain this facade or whatever have you. Um, Here, my children are going, to a nice private school, and they go to like they start every year with trips and stuff, and it's just amazing the opportunities that they have.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, and listen, there's violent crime in Cape Town. You have gangs. You got the Americans and the numbers gangs and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Joburg, you got cash in transit heist, and so Joburg is a city. What I tell people, it's a
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
So everything that come with a city come with Joburg, but I think it's a difference in the mindset of the people.
It
You know what
is.
I'm saying? Like, the culture of being a gangster is not what the everyday South African is trying to be. Like, you telling me 8 and 9 year olds are saying they got pounds of weed. I don't think you can find that in South Africa. You're not going to find an 8 or 9 year old
The
who
community wouldn't
knows
allow.
what a stick is.
The community wouldn't allow it.
Community wouldn't allow it. Right.
Let-
There'd be
Yeah,
some
and they would
pushback.
press the parents if they were the ones doing it.
Exactly.
Here, here, you can't even correct children that are not yours because now you got a problem with the parent. We at the park, it's 6, 7 year olds there of all colors, all ethnic backgrounds. Actually, there was no black kid there at all. Actually, F
Hmm.
this. Oh, you gay? No, the one that was, huh? That was actually talking like that. It was they weren't talking, saying the things that, like some of the other kids saying. So it's not. They try to blame it on us. It ain't. It's everybody. You know what
It's
I'm saying?
everybody. Yeah.
So they were just saying F this or oh, what the F? It's 5, 6 adults right there. Parents
Yeah.
nowhere to be found.
Hmm.
But everybody has this understanding, like we already know it's gonna be a fight if we say some of this. If they parents, because we don't know whose kid who, they were all standing here, so we like, you ain't saying nothing. That's your kid. I ain't got nothing to say.
Yeah.
Their kid parents weren't even there, but it's just the fact that there is no community anymore. There's no
Yeah.
understood community. So that's why everyone's kind of like, I just worry about mine, we worry about yours, that type of thing. And that's how
Yeah.
communities fall apart, you know? It's
Yeah.
all selfishness. It's all self-focused or self-centered. And
Yeah.
everybody going through. My sister going through it. Kids being harassed by mothers because their kids bad. And their kids be like, leave us alone. She bullying them. And, you know, it's all type of stuff, and it's just unfortunate. But also, about the renter thing, all right. So the 50-year mortgage, 15-year car payments. That's even crazier. Car ain't
Wait,
gonna
a
last
what?
50.
Oh,
Yeah,
you said a
yeah, they
50
was
year
a
car,
15-year car, yeah, loan.
15-year car payment?
Hmm. To make them more affordable.
Jesus.
But that's the whole thing, is to rent everything and be happy, you know?
Yeah.
Own
Own
nothing and
nothing.
be happy. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, they flipped it on us. We like, all right, we've been in the situation. Our community's been lifetime renters for a long time, since redlining,
Yeah.
right? That ain't nothing new. But to make it a 50-year disguised as a 50-year mortgage, that's
Yeah.
scary because now you're responsible for the home too, and you
Yeah.
still will never own it.
Yeah.
Renting, you're not responsible for the home, as far as the maintenance and things, but
Maintenance, right.
now you are. That's scary to be in that predicament.
Right.
You know what I'm
And just
saying?
think how long it takes to actually build equity if you have a 50-year mortgage to build equity in that home to where it's actually able to benefit you. If you buy a house at 30 and you have 50 years, you're 80 years old when you pay it off.
Hmm. Well, yeah,
That's
because they trying to push
crazy.
retirement to 75, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, all this lines, everything's starting to line up. The whole point is work till you die, and that's it. You're a lifetime slave. Like that's it. That's all this is. It's just,
Mm,
they can't do it. They can't do it the way that they used to. That's all.
yeah.
But people not intelligent enough or aware enough to just put things together and be like, look, this is very clear what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
clear.
got it.
Oh, go
We
ahead.
got Caribou. I think I said the name. Are you can you hear us?
Karabu.
Karabu. You just got to come off of mute. Let me see. I'll ask you to unmute.
Artist has a name too, I believe.
Okay, I'm trying to ask you to unmute, but it won't let me.
Maybe they didn't approve the mic to be accessed by the phone.
No, I see the mic. I see the mic and the camera. It's just I think they're going to have to come off of mute themselves. In the meantime, we'll try to figure. Let's see.
Section, how's it?
All right, go on. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm good and you, man. I came up when we were talking about crime in South Africa. I thought maybe I can give you added context.
Go ahead, do that.
No, even in the township, it's no longer the same as it was in the past. There's been a lot of evolution with time. And I felt, it's so ironic that a lot of CIT robbers are not even as wildly violent as you would imagine. you know, I know it sounds ironic. There's a trend in South Africa where when a CIT heist is happening, there will be people gathering around to wait for scattered cash because a lot of times they use explosives, right? So when the explosive goes off, there's a cash that goes around as some sort of debris, right?
Right.
So people feel so safe that they will literally stand around and watch the heist happening so that they can opportunistically come through and take the remaining cash. Sometimes the criminals themselves, they throw the cash around, you see, when they are done doing their thing. So they are not as wildly violent as the violent nature of their crime depicts, but more especially Soweto. At some point, it was gangland, literally. I think very much like America, there were territories that were controlled by specific gangs. For example, Orlando East was controlled by a gang known as Amakabasa, and then Rockville, etc. But people themselves just decided that we can't live like this. And gangsterism gradually was eradicated, and now it's largely a peaceful place. No kid looks forward to becoming a gangster. In fact, all they do is smoke happily all day. You know, they are not into that thug life type of situation. So you are right in some parts in your context about gangsterism in South Africa. But I think the 90s was a very violent era everywhere. Hey?
Everywhere. The
Yeah,
90s
yeah.
were especially violent across urban
Mhm.
cities in the US. But I do think it is what Brother Thomas was talking about. It is this cultural influence. Like I'm 46. I do remember a time when anyone could correct you if they were an adult, right? Especially in the black community, especially if they knew your mama and you knew they knew your mama and your daddy or whatever have you, you you wouldn't curse in front of them because you didn't want them going back and tell your mom and dad, right? So you had a respect for your parents, you had a respect for them, and if you did do something out of line, they not whip you. I ain't gonna say people will. I'm not from the era where anybody could whip you, but anyone could correct you. An old man could tell you, "Look, boy, if you don't pick that trash up, or if you don't pull your
Mhm.
pants up, they would tell you all that type of. I'm from
Don't
the era
walk
where
on their grass.
yeah. Or I used to sag my pants, when sagging pants were like the thing, right? And old men would be, hey, put your pants up, son. What? They don't know me. They'll just put your pants up or whatever have you. So that kind of element in our community, I'm sure it still exists in, small vestiges here and there. But overall, I think with more and more black folks living in urban communities, and then being separated from like families, like when I was growing up, you'd have families who lived on the same block. So that kind of also made community feel different. Now you're from Detroit, living in Houston. You have my line brothers from New Orleans living in Houston. It's different. It's just people are all over. So that kind of cultural cohesiveness, where we
Mhm.
felt like family and friends, kind of
Right.
is kind of gone. You know,
South
and that and
Africa has.
that's sad. But I think that's again here in South Africa. I don't want to paint the all rosy pictures, but there's so much positive taking place in terms of culturally
Yeah.
that as I think it's Cairo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, brother.
It's
The
Karabo,
gangster
yeah. It's
Cairo.
okay, yeah.
It's just not at present. And I tell people all the time when I first moved in 2022, I would walk through the mall and I would see like a group of young black teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old, right? Now, where I'm from, my antennas are immediately going up, right?
Negative.
I'm watching them. Like, these Negro about to be up to something. I ain't got no gun. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking all of this stuff.
In the
And
mall.
in the mall. And these are some of the most respectful, they have all the thoughts that I'm thinking of them, or all the stereotypes that I have placed on them, they are the
Yeah.
antithesis of that, right? So I had to, as Cornell West would say, denigify. I had to take all of that
Yeah.
internalized white supremacy and all of this judgment of young black people, young black men, young black women out of my mind. Now, granted, somebody he talking about cash and Kyra, you talking about cash and transit. So somebody doing some gangster stuff here, but
Yeah.
it is not what everybody is doing. It's not what
And
most people are into.
sorry to interrupt, Dr. Asad. You know that a typical CIT heist robber looks exactly like you and behaves exactly like you, like a total gentleman.
That makes sense.
You know, exactly. So that's the weird part.
No, I obviously I really agree with what Asad, both of you are saying, right? So one thing that I'm just speaking in regards to the US first. In order for a community to change the trajectory of what's happening, there has to be a community in the first place. You know what I'm saying? The community has been destroyed. That's not a normal thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
So how can we correct something within our community that we can't even detect where it exists?
Mm.
So, and that's why I say in SA, like, okay, there is still a huge community there. It's community based. They're very
Yeah.
Ubuntu. It's all of that, right?
Mm.
So even if there is gangsterism and this and that, like there is still a chance for you guys to correct it. And
Right.
as you're saying, they're tired of living like this, which is something that a community had to decide, and
Right.
collectively make a change and hold each other accountable for it, and also raise their children to think different. So here, I'm sorry, there, I experienced a couple things myself that show me how children display themselves or how they act. And this was in 2022 and 2023. One situation, I think we were at Green Market in Cape Town. And unfortunately, there was a child that was in the car, and it was hot outside. The kid opened the door, started hollering. The whole market stopped. Everything just froze, and people ran to the child. At least
Mm.
10, 12 people ran over there, whether they were market the owners or this, that, like shoppers, they all stopped what they were doing, and the other rest spectated until something was figured out, right?
Yeah.
I guess the mother walked over. The whole community scolded her. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
They all
Yeah.
scolded her for it rather than calling the cops. What does that
Yeah.
do for her or the child? You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Versus here, now, oh, we're going to bust the window, we're going to beat your car up, then we're going to take the child and make sure you never see him again.
Yeah.
And then just going to go back to our regular day and just feel good about ourselves like you did something right. You ain't do nothing
Right.
right. They do the same thing over dogs here. Bust your window, call the cops on you, feel like they saved the day. Now you going to jail because a dang on dog. You know what I'm saying? Over a dog. Not saying
Yeah.
it's right, but so that, and then so that's one thing about the adults, but the children, I didn't see no crying, yelling, erratic children
Mm-mm.
walking around in the malls. It's almost like we didn't even see any kids. It was so quiet. It's like
Right.
we had to look for children because we didn't hear them, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and also they still allow children to be children at the same time. But then I was with Mansa one time, and we were having lunch on Long Street. Um, And these kids kept walking past from school and they saw him and they were like, "Hey, excuse me, guys. We know you're having lunch right now. We truly apologize for interrupting your lunch, but do you mind if we take a picture with you?" These are kids that are like in middle school and high school, speaking better than most adults would and being more polite than most adults would here. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't just pull out their phone, start flashing pictures. They asked politely, "Can we please interrupt your lunch or your meal to take a photo with you?" And we apologize for it. And we
Wow.
went to Kayalicha. We saw kids that's supposedly in one of the most dangerous townships in, the world, apparently.
Yeah.
They waving at us, smiling when we driving through,
Yeah.
happy dancing. I'm like, the kids in the townships behave better than the kids in the suburbs out here.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yeah.
that's this. All of this gives me the impression that no matter what they say about SA, what challenges it has, the community is what gives it a chance to fight back and change the trajectory of what's coming next. And I will forever believe
Absolutely.
in SA for that reason. So I
Yeah.
know that was a
No,
rant. I feel like all that was important to know.
No, 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 no. It is timely and germane, man, because SA, and I tell South Africans this all the time, y'all be real hard on your country for some reason. And I understand like you want to see your country better. You want to see it be the best it can be. Uh, but the problem I see is that they start looking at the US thinking that the US has it together. And I'm like, no, it's effed up over there. You just don't understand. It's real
Disgusting.
effed up.
It's a
Yeah.
gross place to be honest.
yeah. One thing I
Yeah.
can give South Africa as a South African is community.
Yes.
Like South Africans almost naturally gravitate towards community.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll
That's
give
true.
you an example. In the township, whenever a family has lost a loved one, the whole community comes up to assist with anything that is needed. It's
Mm,
almost spontaneous, it's instinctive. We know what's supposed to happen. And then
Mm.
people will come out. There's this thing that is called ugupila. It's
Say it
literally
again.
taken from ugupila.
Ugupila.
Like,
Uncle Pete.
yeah, let me help you. You'll find it easier to pronounce once you know where it comes from. It's derived from peeling vegetables, literally, right?
Mm,
So
Oh, okay.
whenever there's been a funeral, the night before, there'll be a lot of preparation for cooking. So a lot of vegetables will be getting peeled. So the women, that's why they call it ugupila, you know.
Mm.
mm,
Uh, so the women in the neighborhood will go to that house where the passing has happened, and they will spend the whole night just peeling vegetables. helping prepare for cooking tomorrow. It's spontaneous and it happens almost everywhere in Soweto or anywhere else in
Mm,
South Africa. Like
Mm,
online, offline, wherever, South Africans gravitate towards a community. Like
yeah,
maybe it's our safe space or what.
that's the
yeah,
solution to everything is community. Yeah.
yeah. And definitely
Mhm.
when I just left down down by Soweto about an hour ago, and it's always a welcoming vibe, just I'm gonna tell you, Thomas and Caribou, you Thomas, you mentioned about people waving. I had a group of social workers in town last week. Well, they were here for 2 weeks, and we took the Johannesburg city tour, city scene, the hop on hop off bus, right, the double decker red bus, and we were passing through the city, and we were sitting outside because you could sit on the top and where people could see you, and it's like it's no roof there.
Yeah.
So as we're passing through the city, people are just like, "Welcome to South Africa, hey!" And I'm like, "Man, you passed through New Orleans. We don't be speaking to.
Nah.
We might be telling you get out of my neighborhood and stuff like that. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like,
Yep.
it's just a different disposition, man. Let me while we're here, y'all, I'm gonna take a second and read some of these comments because people been making comments. I see
Oh
somebody
yeah.
talking about my shirt. Let me see something. Somebody said, "Oh, let's go back." Damn, there's a whole bunch of comments. All right, so
You
so
gotta
we
tell them
talked
that's the
about
real
that.
polo, not the SA polo.
Well, see this. Well, South Africa. Did you know that Ralph Lauren bought the? Shout out to it's see because God. I keep telling people like I'm God's favorite man. He knew I was struggling. He said, "I'm gonna take care of your side. We gonna get you
Saw that
right."
post. I knew that what you was about to do. I knew you was gonna see that.
So, Brother Walter said, I was in Joburg last year. I'm now in Durban as we speak. I just left Cape Town. For me, it will be Cape Town or Johannesburg. I think like Durban is, you got the beach life. Okay, so you from Detroit, you living in Houston, but you haven't been to Joburg. I think that Cape Town and both Cape Town and Durban are a little bit slower in pace. Joburg is much more on the pace of a Houston or Atlanta in terms of like nightlife and just the way it moves, the vibe of the city. Anywhere you have water, it's gonna start slowing down. So beach town like Cape Town, beach town like Durban, the pace is a little slower. That's how I feel. But I'm starting. I always had this like I always say, oh, Cape Town is all right, but I'm starting to see more and more why people like Cape Town. Besides just the beauty, I think there's a different kind of vibe there that people like. Let's see. Greetings, family from North Carolina. Shout out to North Carolina, North Kakalaki. My brother Art will be here in March. I think he's trying to move soon. You invest 30% in the South African business. So the brother South Africa is my home, 814. I think he got some New Orleans connections too. But he says you invest 30% in a South African business. Brother Walter's talking about he's trying to give himself 2.5 years. Uh, someone says he needs to go to the North Coast. Uh, Brother Saad, you are the reason a lot of Americans are now moving to SA. I would love to take credit for that, but what I would say is listen to what Thomas got through telling y'all. The America that was good for us 20 or 30 years ago is just not there anymore. That's gone. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are leaving the United States or seeking, and not just South Africa. And I'm not just talking about Black Americans, white Americans. There's a whole YouTube channel with a white dude, and he has like 1 million subscribers. And he's telling Americans how to relocate to different places. And he gives like, list of good countries to go to, good countries with
Oh, nomad capitalist.
nomad capitalists. Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that ain't
I
no
watched him
black
last
dude.
night.
That's a
Mhm.
white
He
boy
said he
telling white
abandoned. He
people
said he gave up his citizenship to the U.S. He's not a citizen here anymore.
Oh wow, now that's deep.
Yeah.
Cause
He he said
yeah,
he been did that. He said he
mm,
probably got a lot of passports, but he did that. He did that a while
yeah.
ago. He said that's
I
what he said. He said that if you could choose between having a relationship with multiple people that treat you good
mm,
and the one that you know ain't going nowhere, that's gonna chase you around the world, begging you for attention, begging you for money, no matter what you're doing, where you go, crazy,
mm,
violent, rude, mean to you. That's the type of
mm,
girl we talking about. You probably gonna leave that one alone. He said that's what
Yeah.
made me make that decision. They abusive to you when you at home, and if you leave, they just mad that you left, and they can't abuse you no more, so they punish you with taxes or other implications.
Now that's a
So
white
yeah,
boy talking like that.
yeah,
Think about that. That's a white American, right? So yeah.
rich white, a rich white man.
Let's
Yeah.
see. Somebody says, "Hello, Doc. We are in Houston, from New Orleans since
Hey.
1990, and the blacks are doing pretty damn good. We are blessed with our economy so far as, and I ain't gonna lie, Houston was always the place New Orleans said, like, if you wanted a job, you went to Houston. You wanted a good house, a nice house, you went to Houston. Stuff was a little
Hmm.
more affordable than where we are. Uh, Shout out to Mama Jones. She said, Dad, you have to be more civilized. Shout out to Mama Jones. I hope y'all and Crystal and Ricky and Pops
Oh, the
return
Jones family.
soon. Yeah, shout out to the Jones family.
Yeah, when
Uh,
they going back, I know they got to be brewing to go back at this point.
hey,
Ain't
bro,
no
I
way you can come
know.
back to the U.S. and not want to go back. Ain't no way.
I think I talked to Ricky. He said he might try to make it here in 2026. I think that's what he told me.
That's what's
To come
up.
for a visit.
I want to meet them so bad.
I said, I need that 50-year bond here in Cape Town. No, that's a scam, baby. That's a scam. Somebody called it sharecropping. This is when we were talking about like the 50-year mortgage and
Yeah.
15-year car payment.
Mm.
Um, let's see. The facts community has been destroyed. Aside, after watching your last video, I was like, man, your wife stopped feeding you. You lost weight and your t-shirt looks small on you. All right. So let me tell y'all what's going on.
Mm.
When I first came to see everybody on the YouTube, they know Big Asad, and Asad ain't always been big. I When I came to South Africa in 2019, I was 190 pounds. I used to work out every day, fast, and all that good stuff. COVID happened. Really, what happened is my line brother happened. So I was 190 pounds, and my line brother, he is in Houston. He's a gym head. He's a gym bro, right?
Mm.
He only like 5'7", but he's swole, big old. And he was like, bro, you lost all this weight. You're too skinny, man. You got to get in the gym. You got to hit the weights. So COVID happened. I'm hitting heavy ass weights, 315 benching and all that good stuff.
Mm.
Then I moved to South Africa. I moved to South Africa. I'm swole, but I'm not really working out. I'm enjoying myself eating, going to restaurants and all that good stuff. And I just got fat. So
Mary did
now,
it to
huh?
you. There was it Mary's or something did it to you. What's the name of that spot you go to out there?
Um, they got Proud Marys, they got
Yeah, probably.
Tasha's. Yeah,
Tasha's,
all
that's
oh no,
yeah.
I go everywhere, bro. I be eating good. But so what I did is I started my fasting again. So I only eat now maybe really one good meal a day and then a snack. So I fast for about 20 hours and then I have a 4 hour feeding window where I eat a big meal. I eat a good meal and I ain't gonna sit there and say I'm cutting calories. I'm eating pasta and steak and all kind of shit, but it's just that one meal and then maybe 2 hours later before my fasting window ends, I got a sweet tooth, so I'll give me some candy. I had M&Ms today or whatever have you, and then that's it. Like I'll cut off and then I'll eat again tomorrow. And I've been hiking. I've been.
Prasad,
What you say, brother?
I want to ask you something, man. Can we have a chat about the G20 a little bit? What's your opinion about it?
So, we had a phenomenal conference that our center put on at the G20 where we had Professor Jeffrey Sachs. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but y'all seen his face. He's all over YouTube talking bad about Donald Trump. I think South Africa showed to the world that it is a first class, world class city that can host something, because this is the first time the G20 has ever been in Africa, right? Host something as, you know, magnanimous, if that's the word, or as big as the G20. I think Trump has shown how small he is with the way he responded by not showing up and then saying that he won't invite South Africa to the. So I think it was a success, and I think the world sided with South Africa on this one, right? The world
Mm-hmm.
sided with South
Yeah,
Africa.
they do.
Trump only
Mm.
further isolated the United States. But I think what most people don't understand is that isolation is the goal. Like He's
You
like,
know,
Trump is making enemies. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to isolate the United States. It's part
you
of
know,
Project 2025.
Brother Asad, please check out a video by Mandela when he was reprimanding George Bush about his quote unquote war on terror. Ne? Now, he was teaching something in that video, and during the G20, I saw that thing in practice. Because just to quote what he said, one power. He called America one power, plunging the whole world into a holocaust. Now, he was
Mm,
signaling that, guys, why are you allowing just one power to run circles around the whole world? You know,
right.
and Ronald Lamola actually said before the G20, he said, we need to show America that the world can go on without without the USA, you know, and they made it happen, you know. And I feel
Yes.
like South Africa might not be a military superpower right now. It might not be an economic superpower, but diplomatically, it's in an extremely commanding position. You know,
Exactly.
Lots of influence. Yes.
South Africa has always been that country that's even able to talk to countries which are enemies, you know.
Hmm.
Like you'll find that South Africa is able to call Cuba, is also able to call USA, even
Yes.
though these two countries are enemies. It's able to talk to Palestine, it's able to talk to Israel, you know.
Hmm.
It's able to talk to China. What's that other place that's fighting for secession? Taiwan or Taipei? The one with the Dalai Lama.
I think it's Taiwan.
Taiwan, I think so. And wait. Yeah, I think it is Taiwan. I don't know. It
Taiwan.
might be.
Now, Trump was testing the waters to say uh, who has more influence between USA and South Africa, you know, because I understand that he tried to influence other countries not to come to the G20. Now, it didn't work.
Right.
Like you say, that the world sided with South Africa. He played a very
Hmm.
dangerous game, and he was playing poker, like he was bluffing, and South Africa Assad that America will regret in future because it
Yeah.
has sent a signal really that the world can go on without USA. You know,
Mm,
I think he
Right.
made a huge mistake.
he did.
Right.
He showed his
E-
cards.
even with the cutting off of aid, now there's some countries that are really hurting, but South Africa was able to fill the gap, right?
Yeah. They're in
You
bricks.
know, yeah, they got bricks. I mean, what they the tragedy that they thought would happen just didn't happen. The people that are actually hurting from the cutting off of U.S. aid is American citizens who are now out of work. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Didn't have.
Who have been living in who have been living abroad for the last 20 years who now have to pack up and go back home without a job. That's the people who actually hurt the most. At least South Africa, in terms of South Africa. South Africa was able to plug in the gaps for the HIV funding. Prep ain't stopped. I think
And
maybe for a while, a couple of weeks, and then boom, they were able to start right back up. And that kind of shows the strength of South Africa. But Kyra, when you were
and
talking about let me just say this: when you're talking about Nelson Mandela, there's a great interview. I think it's with Dan Rather, I think it was, or Ted Koppel, one of the old
yeah, it's
guard,
Ted Koppel. It's Ted
Ted
Koppel.
Koppel,
Yeah, I know that
and
interview.
they were asking Mandela about his relationship with Cuba and Fidel Castro. And this is how profound Mandela was. He said, man, um, you America's under like the assumption that your enemies are my enemies. Right. Yeah. We could be friends with who we want to be friends with. We could
Mm,
have
I can
diplomatic
literally quote
relations.
him word for word.
Go ahead, quote
He
him word
said
for
one
word.
of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
There you go.
Exactly. I've watched
Exactly.
that interview so many times. It's so impressive. And it was a setup, right? Could you tell
Right.
that the whole interview was a setup to trip him up?
And what's amazing is that he is doing this while translating it from another language because English is not his first language. So he's as eloquent. Okay, so now let's talk about Ramaphosa and where I do think Ramaphosa has made some fumbles is when he met with Trump in the Oval Office. When he met with Trump and Trump tried to set him up with the white genocide and played the video or whatever have you. I just think that Mandela would have handled that situation drastically different. I'm not saying he
Oh,
would have
definitely,
cursed
That's why
Trump
they call him
definitely.
cursed
Cupcake.
Trump out. He is just more eloquent and more savvy, like politically
Hmm.
savvy, like geopolitically savvy than I think Ramaphosa was, because I think Ramaphosa was truly caught off guard, but his people should have been preparing him for this. We knew about the white
Yeah.
genocide lie. It was all over Twitter, so he should have been prepared in a way that would have you know firmly and profoundly rejected the idea of a white genocide, and kind of made Trump
Exactly,
look as silly as Trump is.
in a convincing way. I understand
And
what you're saying. You
yeah,
know, a lot of people will hate me for saying this, but Ramaphosa is not much of a politician. Because for us who have been following, we were born into the ANC, some of us, we know our leaders. Ramaphosa just came out of nowhere at the very end of the struggle, in the 90s. Suddenly we see this guy, he's a secretary of the ANC. We don't know where he comes from. He's not part of the revolutionary class. That's why he's so, shaky, basically. But in terms of the G20, I think he showed some
oh yes,
uh, yeah, he showed some guts.
yeah, he
At least
did.
he acted like a leader. I want to play you a small clip. I don't know if you'll hear it. It was Mandela. He was talking about the USA. Ne? I don't know if you'll hear it.
Play it. Let's see.
We will withdraw our aid to South Africa. I say, please withdraw it. In any case, the aid you are giving us in comparison with the aid we're getting from others is peanuts. But when they countered by saying we will withdraw our aid to South Africa, I say, please withdraw it. In any case, the aid you are giving us in comparison with the aid we're getting from others is peanuts.
Could you get that, Dr. Asad?
Yes, he said if you're going to withdraw the aid, withdraw it because of the aid that you're giving to us compared to the aid from others is peanuts, right?
I'll give you context. Firstly, this is not our first rodeo with the USA.
Okay.
Around this time, they were trying to tell Mandela to distance him from Gaddafi during the
Mm.
Lockerbie bombing crisis. Do you remember that one?
Hmm.
Now,
Yep, I
Mandela
do.
said, I'm going to visit Gaddafi to speak to him. And I think the USA thought he's going to give some kind of political legitimacy to Gaddafi because the USA and Gaddafi were at loggerheads about the Lockerbie bombing thing. And Mandela said, I'm going to go visit Gaddafi. And the state security, Department of State Security, is that it? Apparently warned Mandela and said he mustn't go to visit Gaddafi. And literally, to quote him word for word, he said, nobody in the universe, not just the world, is going to dictate to me where I should go and where I shouldn't go. I'm going to visit Gaddafi. And then
Hmm.
the USA said, well, we will withdraw our aid. So that's where he told them that please withdraw it. In any case, it's peanuts. So
Yeah,
he went, and surprisingly, he was able to resolve the Lockerbie crisis. He was able to secure the suspects. And I think he told him that these people want an excuse to attack you. you know, this whole thing with Gaddafi would have happened sooner. Another
mm.
incident is around the war on terror. George Bush was lobbying countries to avoid being held accountable for the war on terror, right?
Right.
Now, one of the countries he tried to put pressure on was South Africa, and it was under Thabo Mbeki at the time. And
Yeah.
Thabo Mbeki said, I mean, those who did nothing wrong have no reason to hide, don't be afraid to face accountability. And he refused to join up with those countries that were supposed to support America. And then the third time was when Jacob Zuma was told he must arrest al-Bashir. I don't know if you remember that one.
No,
and he
Al
flat out
Bashir.
refused. Yeah, Al Bashir. He was here for the BRICS meeting or some other meeting.
Okay.
So Jacob Zuma was instructed to arrest him because there's a warrant out for his arrest, and he just refused. So
Mm.
this is not our first rodeo with the USA, by the way. I was just disappointed saying for the first time we have a disappointing president who just is spineless, but he's really redeemed himself with how he handled, you know.
Yeah. No, the G20 was put on masterfully and handled masterfully by Ramaphosa and the South African government. I think it shined such a positive light, especially like if you, and Thomas can attest to this, like if you listen to the media about South Africa and the US, it's all negative. It's crime, it's AIDS and
Mm.
poverty, crime, AIDS, and poverty, right? And now the world was able to. I think it's almost as big as it's bigger than even the World Cup. Like the World Cup in 2011 shined a certain light on South Africa, but now this it positions South Africa as a true world player, on the stage, on the world stage. And as you mentioned, even without the military, right? Even
Yeah.
without the biggest economy in the world, even though it's like I think it's the biggest economy here on the continent, definitely the strongest and most stable economy on the continent.
Mm.
I think South Africa's in a great position. I think what I do worry about is how, white folks in America are spiteful. Like George Bush actually went to war with Iraq after 9/11 only because his daddy went to war
Yes,
with
yes.
Saddam and lost. So I worry
Imagine.
about the spitefulness of America after being shown, how you say he got showed up. The people showed up the United States and the world side. So I worry about if the United States would try to, trump up charges or whatever of genocide on South Africa or whatever. They're already taking citizens when you put a refugee status on an Afrikaner, right, in the United States, it is saying that you really believe that there is a genocide against
Yeah.
white folk here in South Africa,
Mm.
and that can be the kind of starting point of like first economic aggression and ain't no telling this guy is unstable, maybe even military aggression.
Hey.
I think the only thing that is stopping that is the relationship between China and Russia with South Africa, as well as the right wing in America voted the second time for Trump because they wanted isolationism, right? Because they were like, we don't want any wars. We don't want our people going off to war. We want America first. Make America great again. Put America first. So they're not interested in getting bogged down into any kind of
Uh,
military
here's
action.
my Sorry to interrupt,
Well,
brother Asad. Here's my theory on part of what protects South Africa in a way. Ne? I feel like South Africa is protected by its own diversity. Ne? How
Mm.
so? For example, if Israel were to retaliate against South Africa, they would have to consider that we have a very strong Jewish community inside South Africa.
right,
Mm.
right,
It makes it
right,
tricky because you can't sabotage a place that is also a sanctuary to a strong element of your own people. you
right.
know, it's tricky.
Also, all the American companies that are here. There's over what 600 American companies that have
Yeah,
headquarters. So yeah, those corporations better hold up. You messing with our money now, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
It's not
so that
Hiroshima
does
from a long time ago. You know what I'm saying?
right. Exactly. So
like it's that
they're
country that you don't know how to handle. you know,
Yeah.
can
But
I
I do
explain
honestly
another?
feel like
Okay.
uh, oh, I just do want to empower South Africans right now. Um, I really truly believe that South African people can become and will become, if the right decisions are made, everything America thought it was.
mm,
I say that
Well
because
said.
potential is there. The reason I say that is because my no, okay, so the diversity is there. So it can be, like you said, a sanctuary. They gave everyone the impression it was a sanctuary, but it was all strategically a sanctuary to displace us,
Yeah.
right? South Africa would never do such a thing and bring in people of other to sabotage its own people because you guys look at everyone as your actual people, right? So, and you've been given something at this moment. You have the world stage. When I tell you South Africa's all over social media, South Africa's all over the shade room. They're all over here. They're politically, they're in the conversations a lot more. They're part of BRICS and musically taking over the music industry and rap and hip hop is down by 40% across the world consumption. Like, but I'm a piano is taking over. We got White we have Three Step. Like it's so many. Y'all are really trending. Your country is trending. And I don't think anything like that has ever happened before in the history of man. Like your
Yeah.
country is trending. Do you understand? Not your music is trending or this part of your country. Your country is trending. People did not know South Africa existed 7 years ago.
Yeah.
They thought it was a
That's true.
region. Now South Africa is in every, you know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. You
It
cannot
is.
not know where South Africa is now.
Yeah.
So that's why
You
I say
know,
you guys have something right now, but you have to do right with it. You have to like detach yourself from looking at us as an inspiration of how to do things. I'm talking about even my people. Do what y'all been doing and double down on it
Yeah.
because that's what's working.
mm,
What I'm seeing right now in your country that I don't like is you're becoming very Americanized without even coming to America. Not like the older people of our
mm,
generation necessarily, but the younger generation act, how do I say it without being offensive? Do you know how like maybe a man can try to emulate a woman, but it's a little too much? It's like
Mm.
women don't even act like that.
Yeah.
South Africans are emulating Americans, but they doing too much because they never truly seen it in action.
Yeah.
So it's tearing your community down faster. People are not going to be getting
mm,
married over there soon. Your population is going to dwindle because people aren't going to be able to going to start having kids. Like your women and men are going to start fighting harder. Like these are all the things we've done, but your country started off like hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? Like ahead in a sense, and you're experiencing everything our community experienced as a country rapidly. And if you don't
Rapidly.
change the
Exactly.
mm.
trajectory of what's happening, you're going to destroy your country from the community within because you're
Yeah.
emulating what we did wrong over here as if because it's being glamorized on social media. That's what I don't like what's happening in South Africa. But
Yeah.
I love the
No,
people. Yeah,
I'm glad that other people will hear it from you, you know, because
yeah,
I even coined a phrase for it. I say, do American deeds get American results? You know, when I
Yes.
caution my people against this
yeah.
Americanization, to say, you don't want to go that side. I mean,
Oh my
the country is
God.
literally collapsing before your eyes. What makes you think doing the same thing won't lead you to collapse? Dr.
Yeah.
Right.
Asad, I want to play you another video. I think you will surprise you. It's another side of Mandela. I don't know how clear the audio is, but I'll try again.
Go ahead, play it.
We made it clear that your object is military targets. Part of my training was what they call demolition work. I was expert in the street.
Okay, so that wasn't that clear.
It wasn't clear. Okay,
No,
basically, it wasn't that clear.
no.
Should I repeat it or should I just quote it for you? Maybe you'll hear me better.
Yeah, quote it for us.
Yeah, he was saying that we made it clear that your object was military targets. He was talking about the MK, you know, Mkhonto weSizwe. And then the
Yeah,
part that
spare the
interests me
nation.
the most, because a lot of people just know him as this smiling old man who's always waving and shaking hands, but he was extremely dangerous. You know, that's what people don't know. So he goes on to say, part of my training, and when he says part, the operative word is part, like it's only part of his training. He was literally a trained soldier. So he says
Yeah.
part of my training was what they call demolition work. And then he goes on to say, I was an expert in exploding bombs. You know,
Mm.
this is the side of Mandela that is suppressed from history. You know, we must know the smiling, old man, you know?
No, it's the Martin Luther King effect, right? Like people don't know the extreme revolutionary side of Dr. King. If we can, it even sounds strange to say Dr. King's revolutionary side, but if you know anything about the "I Have a Dream" speech, that wasn't the that was the ending of a speech that was about reparations, right?
Mm,
Dr. King was talking about reparations in the 60s. And the beginning of that speech says, "We have come here today," and I'm paraphrasing it, but it's almost a word for word quote, "to cash a check that has been marked insufficient funds." He was talking
mm,
about receiving, right, reparations from the United States government. And in fact, the speech was, if you read it, it was so radical that he wasn't getting the response from the audience. So it was Mahalia Jackson, the great gospel singer from New Orleans, who said, "Tell him about the dream, Martin." And that's when he goes into this kind of impromptu talk about, "I have a dream." And that is the part that has been captured by the mass media and pumped to Black people for the last 60 years. But the
mm,
part about reparations has been left out. Or even the interview where Dr. King is being interviewed and he talks about integration. He says, "I fear that I've integrated my people into a burning house."
mm,
It's like he talks about America not white America not wanting integration, or he talks about when he talks about the white liberal, damn near quoting Malcolm X. And his stance on saying the white liberal is the one who is standing in the way of the real integration because they will smile with you and basically tell you, yes, you deserve a seat at the table, but they will not move their seat over to let you get
mm,
room to be able to sit down. So we know it happens with our leaders. What as radical as they may seem in the time, um, the mainstream media has a way of whitewashing them, softening them to be able to make
mhm.
them more marketable. So Mandela became, we Black Americans know Mandela, as you said, the smiling old man, right? And he just seems cheerful and he's just full of wisdom. And we don't know about the spirit of the MK, the spirit of the nation, right? I didn't know
Mm,
about that until I moved to South Africa, right? We just
mm.
thought he was some non-violent man who spent some time in prison and became the president. It sounds like it makes for a
Not
great
even
story,
almost. That's not even near who Mandela was. Here's
right?
another audio.
True speech rather than confrontation, except in cases where we cannot proceed, where we cannot move forward. Then, if the only alternative is violence, we will use violence.
I had no idea.
That's my kind of
Look, we
talk.
thought he was the original cupcake. He was not.
Not even almost. Not even almost. Hey, the guy was badass, bro. Like
Yeah,
he would cut you to size, like he would cut you to shreds. You know, white South Africa knew not to mess with him. Like when he's angry, you know, when he was questioned about again his friendship with Gaddafi, and by the way, when he said we will use violence, he was addressing a meeting by the PLO. You know, he
yeah,
was
Palestinian
extremely
Liberation
fiercely
Organization.
loyal. You know, so on the video, there's Arafat actually clapping hands after he says, "We will use violence if the only alternative," because he was saying there's no use for Israel to continue talking of peace if they continue to hold on the territories they conquered in the Six-Day War. Now, I
Yeah,
watched so many of his videos, I can literally quote him word for word.
yeah. I mean,
Am I
and
still
that's the way it
on?
should be. But another thing that's happened is that Mandela has been placed above all. But you got Robert Sabikwe. I don't know if I said that right, but Robert Sabikwe. You have even O.R. Tambo. Then you have the Chris Heinies, and of course you have oh my God, Steve
Steve
Biko.
Biko.
Right.
Uh,
So you have these other thought leaders and revolutionaries and people. I think that Steve Biko
no, sorry
has
about that. Yeah.
no. I think the Steve Biko and the Black consciousness, um, is one of the most. He is the most. Is France Fanon and Steve B. France Fanon for, I guess, for the diaspora in general, but Steve Biko and this awakening of this black consciousness, and obviously the United States had our own black conscious movement. You know, Malcolm and the Nation and all of those folks. But when we talk about on the world stage, you know, this black consciousness is, I think that's part of what makes South Africa unique. And here's what I mean. If Black Americans start going to Nigeria, Nigeria itself does not have the same Black consciousness as South Africa. Why? Because Nigeria did not have settler colonialism. Nigeria had colonialism, but it did not have settler colonialism.
Settler, okay, I get you. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? White folks
Mhm.
moved to South Africa. You had to serve them in South Africa. They set up their
Mhm.
systems in South Africa.
Mhm.
Nigeria had a governor where there was a handful of white folks, but so for Nigerians or for Ghanaians or even all of our, because Black Americans are West African, right? We descendants from West Africa. For all of those West African nations where colonialism happened, but there was no settler colonialism, they still have, and South Africa has it too, but they still have tribal and ethnic identity. So there's a sister, and I always mispronounce her name, so I won't try. But she said when she came, she did not know she was Black. She's a Nigerian sister until she came to the United States. She's a famous writer, and I know I just can't pronounce her name. But Chingade, somebody in the comments will get it from me. But she said, I did not
Mhm.
know I was Black until I came to the United States. You won't find a South African who will say something like that
Nope.
because they understand that, because this black consciousness has been interwoven with the identity of being South African, whether you're Xhosa or Zulu or whomever, you still have this consciousness, at least a black political consciousness, right? So again, I think Biko's black consciousness was um, um, one of the most powerful things and the best things to ever happen to black South
Oh, no,
Africans. So go ahead.
the thing is, firstly, when I personally speak to Americans, Black Americans, it shocks me the similarity of our experience. You know, like it's insane. It's almost like you are speaking to someone who has grown up in South Africa because everything you know is what we know. You know what
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned earlier on how any random adult could reprimand you for doing something wrong back in the
Right.
day is exactly what I'm familiar with as a South African, you know.
Mhm.
But even the relationship with white supremacy, you understand it exactly as we do. Like
Right.
it's almost like it's the same people speaking, you know, it's almost like we grew up in the same background, just different countries. It's so weird. But
That's what.
also, for example, the exchange in terms of politics and culture. For example, I think the NAACP was founded in 1909.
Yep.
And then in 1912, the ANC was founded.
So right, a couple of days later, basically.
You see, so it couldn't have been a coincidence, you know. For example, Black consciousness apparently was influenced by W.E.B. Du Bois talking about double consciousness, right?
Double
And
consciousness,
then
exactly.
Steve Biko took that Black consciousness part to say we must actually have a movement about Black consciousness, you see. So there's a lot of transfer across the Atlantic, whether it's deliberate or accidental or I don't know, but there's a lot that we share in common, you know. But
So somebody put the sisters. I'm sorry to cut you off, brother Kyrable. Somebody put the sister's name in here. I still can't pronounce it. I don't know. You know, they wrote it. Y'all need to put the pronunciation, but it's Chiman Chi Mama Donna Ngozi Adichie. I butchered that. Why didn't you try it the first time? I don't know why the people. Why didn't y'all write that out? And you know, like when you go to the dictionary and they actually have it spelled out phonetically, so I could say it. You dig? But yeah, that's who it was. who said that she didn't know she was black until she came to the United States. But yes, so our experiences. So the article that I first wrote here was called Double Consciousness. The law of double consciousness. It's called Distant Cousins, right? Why were we distant cousins? Because I said that Jim Crow and apartheid are brothers, right? And
Mhm.
the black children that were um, created under those systems are distant cousins. So, and one thing I found out here is that in South Africa, a cousin may also be a brother. Like they are looked at as like the son of your father's brother is also your brother, not just your like the idea of cousin
Okay,
may
let,
be
let me explain it to you nicely. You see,
good.
my grandmother used to reprimand me a lot about calling my cousins cousin. She
Mhm.
said, this problem, the reason why you fight and you have these squabbles is because you call each other cousin. You guys are siblings. So let me explain how it works. Ne? Uh, your If you have a brother, brother Asad, ne? If you have a brother, a male sibling, your children are brothers, they are not cousins. His
Mm.
children and your children are brothers. They share the same surname, right?
Right.
So they are brothers, they are not cousins. But if you had a sibling who is a woman, those are cousins. That's when we call them mzala, right?
Mm.
But if the siblings, basically same gender siblings, their children are siblings, even if it's women, like their sisters, their children are siblings. But
Mhm.
if the genders are different, that's when they become omzala, cousins, you see.
Okay.
Also, when your son addresses your brother, he calls him father, right?
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
So if he's older than you, he's gonna say ubabumkul, meaning senior father. He's my senior dad. That's when he's older than you. And if he's
Mm.
younger than you, he will be ubabumnani, which is my junior dad. It literally translates to my junior dad,
Mm.
right? And if the two are sisters, same gender siblings who are women, it will be mam omnani. So it will be junior mom, and then the older, if the sibling is older, uh, for example, if my mom is younger than her sibling, I call that sibling umamumkulu, which means senior mom.
Hmm.
So that's how it works.
So what and grandmother, we I know the nickname is Gogo, but what is it like grandmother for your grandmother? So the reason why I asked is because you said my senior mom. So um in black communities across the US, we have our grandmother would be called Big Mama. Now, some people call, grandmama or grandma, or where I'm from, we say Momo, which literally means my mom, my mother's mother, my Momo,
Okay.
right? You know what I'm saying? Um, but I have, my mom is not from New Orleans. She's from a different part of Louisiana. So in New Orleans, we say Momo and Pawpaw. So my grandfather was called Pawpaw. My children call my dad Papa. But for my mom's family, I call my mom's mom Big Mama, right?
Okay.
Because she was the matriarch of the family.
Mhm.
So what is the grandmother here?
The grandmother in our culture is not gender based, like ukoko on both sides, I believe. Yeah, it's ukoko. It's koko on either side. Whether it's your dad's mom, it's ukoko. Whether it's your mom's mom, ukoko, regardless.
Oh yeah, so that's the same for us. Like it's some people may call it you. Well, I guess it depends because in my family, um,
Every
okay,
family
so
different.
every family's
Yeah.
kind of different. So on my mom's
Mm.
side, I never met my mom's dad because he died a long time ago, but it was Big Mama. But then my children, because we were in New Orleans, they called my mom Momo, right? And they called my dad Papa. But I call my dad Papa, and I call my dad's mom Momo. But I think it's different. Some people like maybe what did y'all say in Detroit, or at least in your family?
We know we from Detroit, so it wasn't like that Southern, you know, type of thing. It was just we called her grandma
Grandma.
or
Oh,
ma, you know what I'm saying? Something like that.
yeah.
I ain't
Okay.
hear nothing about no meemaws and all that until I got to the South.
Well, even when you think about grandmother, that's it's like the
Yeah,
grandmother. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like it's the mother over the mother. So it's
Hmm.
but that's all that English too that kind of took away like those specific naming traditions and titles, that you have
Yeah,
for somebody, you
yeah.
know.
Because
Like
I
I
didn't
don't
understand the names, the whole Ma part of it. Like I really didn't understand. I thought he was making stuff up, but I didn't realize it was actually a Southern thing. Because like my
oh,
my grandfather's mother, she was still living, my great grandmother. We called her Ma Pearl, and I'm like, what is the Ma part? I just her name was Pearl. I'm like, what is that? Like, why am I calling her by her first name now at the same time? It
yeah.
threw me off for a little bit, but it's like Ma. It's just like instead of saying grandma, because Southern slang is just about shortening everything, you
Exactly,
know?
exactly.
So, yeah,
Paw. Yeah,
right.
exactly. And then for us, like, and this I think this is specifically New Orleans, Southern Louisiana thing. So you have your dad's uncles, I mean your dad's brothers, those are your uncles. But you have one who will be your godfather, right? And the godfather is the one who stands in front of the church and says, like, if anything happens to these parents, I will be responsible for raising this child. And once that is done, he's no longer he's most people say that's your godfather, but in New Orleans we say that's your parent, right? I don't know what parent mean, but that's your parent. That's your godfather. That's the person who's gonna raise you if something happened to your parents. So um this is just
I want to ask you, Dr. Asad,
uh
were you aware of the prayer gathering that took place last week or the week before
a prayer
at
gathering.
FNB Stadium?
No, I didn't know anything about that. Like it was a Islamic prayer gathering or like a
No, it was every religion in South Africa. Like it
no,
takes
ain't nobody
place.
invite me out.
I think it's the only place where the Judaic religion and prominent rabbis, not just a random rabbi from nowhere, and also the Islamic,
Imams,
I don't know what you call them.
imam.
They gather under one roof basically and pray together. All the
Oh no,
churches in South Africa would be there.
that is beautiful. I wish I would have known because I would have joined. Now I'm gonna tell you, Kyra, but one thing that I find that is different here. So my dad came to visit. So my dad is a Baptist minister. He's a preacher, heavy Christian, big Christian. And and this happened well, let me backtrack. When Ricky Jones was living here, right? He wanted to see what a mosque looked like. So I took him to the mosque, and then he invited me out to the Rivers Church, right? And Brother Thomas, I don't know if you know anything about the Rivers Church, but you ain't seen a mega church. Joel Osteen ain't got nothing on this shit that I saw, brother.
Ain't no way.
Hey, brother, this shit different.
What?
Hey, they got bookstores, restaurants, coffee shops. They got a play. You remember how McDonald's used to have the play area for the kids? They got a play area for the children. That's just and okay. And then when it came time for collection, bro, wasn't no passing the basket, wasn't no getting up, going put the money. They put a URL code on the thing on the screen, and you held your phone up and that's how you were able to pay collection. But so that's Ricky took me there to the Rivers Church. So when my dad came, he was like, "Well, I want to go to a church," and I was trying to find him like a church. And what amazed me is that they're like black people with white pastors. Now I know that sounds racist, but where I'm from, black if it's anything that's gonna be segregated for real, it's gonna be the church. I
They
know it's
said it's
wrong.
the most segregated day in the
The most
country is
segregated
on
hour
Sunday.
is Sunday
Yeah,
morning at
yeah.
noon. Black people go to black churches. We don't have no white pastors. It just that just don't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the white man religion, whatever y'all want to call it. I understand that, but still, we go to black churches. So when I saw like Rivers and it's like a white pastor and it's like buku black people, that just tripped me out. I was like, you know, so I don't know. We may need to get TD Jakes over here, somebody. So
He done retired. It's too late for that one. I think the Diddy thing took him out. He was tired. He was
yeah,
done after that.
No, but American clergymen, Black Americans specifically, have been visiting South Africa for the longest time.
yeah.
Like it wouldn't be anything new, you know. They've been like
No,
the Black Americans have been coming here. Eh? I remember
the
when I was
AME
literally
Church.
in primary school. Pardon?
The AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, has been in South Africa for 100 years, and that was
Jeez.
founded in I think it's Philadelphia by Richard Allen in 1787. And
Can I say something? We done? Because I want to ask Corrupt something
go,
about
y'all go ahead.
just
Let
get
me.
his
I'm about
commentary
to
on
run
it.
to the bathroom. Y'all go ahead.
Okay, okay. All right, brother. I have this question. So
Yeah, I hear you.
my concern, or one thing that I'm seeing right now that I'm just a little confused about, but it's typically I'm not sure your age. I'm 34. I'm about to turn 35. So a little bit in my generation and mainly the little bit younger generation, they're having this back and forth, South Africans and African Americans, about saying that, oh, we're coming there and we're raising the prices of things. Now, there might be 6,000 Americans in general in South Africa total as a country. So it's not that many of us. My concern is, or my disdain about it is Europeans of all walks of life have been coming there for as long as we know South Africa for what it is today. And there's no pushback. There's no uh, you know, debates about it. Why are you coming here? It's almost like you're telling your cousin, why are you coming to stay at my house? But you let your neighbors, your uninvited neighbors come, you know? And my concern about it is we're
But
kind of doing the same thing we do here in our community. Like we fight each other, but we won't fight the real problem, the ones who are
okay,
really causing it.
let me help you with that. I know where
Hmm.
you are coming from. What would you say if I tell you that yes, maybe there's been no pushback to the Europeans who have been coming to South Africa, but there's no demographic that has enjoyed as much welcome as Black Americans have in South Africa.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
no visitor has ever been embraced as much. Maybe Europeans have been treated with indifference, right? But the indifference cuts both ways. Like, okay, maybe they are not being pushed back, but they are not being embraced either, right?
Hmm.
You know, I know of Black Americans who literally only bought a ticket to come to South Africa because they met a South African on social media who said, just buy a ticket, I'll take care of you. No European will ever enjoy that.
True. Yeah.
You
Uh,
understand? Like, no, I'm seeing it unfolding on social media. I've never heard a South African say, please bring more African Americans. It's never happened. You see, or bring more Europeans. It's never happened. Like
mhm.
you can ask Dr. Asad. I watch some American videos of people who are here in South Africa, and you can see in the comment section, you see, the response is just overwhelmingly embracing. And if
Yeah.
there is pushback, it's an exception than a norm. Like it's a fringe, you know. And
Okay.
I feel like you mustn't dwell on the negativity so much that you don't enjoy the unique experience you are having right now. I can guarantee you. Nobody has ever come into South Africa and been embraced as much. And remember, the first time Europeans came into South Africa, they were fought with the spear.
Yeah.
That is our first contact with Europeans, right? This is our first contact technically with Black Americans, right? And the pushback is not as severe as what the First Nation Europeans experienced when they came into South Africa, because they were met with the spear. But I can tell you, the negative feedback is just, I think, I don't know if it's a human thing or it's us as Black people, where we worry about the negativity to an extent that it denies us the opportunity to bask in the positivity.
Yeah,
Like,
let me
look
jump
at
in.
it.
I want to jump in and say this. I can put out a video, brother Thomas, and it could have 100 comments. 95 of them, we love you, Asad. We need more Black Americans. We want, and then them 5 comments where somebody say something, that's the one I pay attention to. That's the one
Yeah,
that catch my, I don't know why. That's the one
it's human
I'll
nature.
respond to with something disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
but
you be going in.
It's human nature.
I'm just
but
making sure
Anyway,
anyway,
because I
so
haven't been in the last few years, so I'm just trying to see because I've seen it happen more often than normal. I never used to see it at all, you know. But in the last
yeah.
few years, I haven't been back since 2020, beginning of 2023. So now I'm like, have things changed? So that's why I'm asking because
No,
at the end of
so
the day, I I know if something happened where it's like, hey, while we there, because that's the difference that I've always tried talking to these people about in lives. I'm like, look, you can say whatever you want about us coming there, we raising the prices, all this and that. It's the Europeans. But I said one thing between us and them, we are cousins and we have a lot of in common. I said, in addition to that, if anything ever happened where y'all needed a voice or y'all wanted something to go down, like, oh, we fighting for reparations for South Africans, we'd be out there with y'all and we ain't gonna get a dime out of it. Just off the
right.
strength of our past, our
Yeah.
I'll give
similarities,
you
our experience.
another example. I think Dr. Assad can vouch for this. You
Mhm.
know, there are privileges that you will get from Black South Africans as a Black American that no random European will ever get. For
Never.
example, you know that guy who does his YouTube channel is what? Coop's Corner, Dr. Assad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen Coops
Coop's
Corner.
Corner,
Yeah,
I've
right?
yeah.
seen it.
He literally got a free tour, right? And free food, you know, and people actually letting him into their houses and all that, simply because they were embracing him for being Black American. No
Yeah.
European will ever enjoy that, you know.
Let me let me
Probably
tell
when,
you. I'm sorry, Kyra, but go ahead. I'm cutting you off. I got excited because I want to tell my story. But go ahead, Kyra.
no, please come through, bro.
So when I even to this day, I don't. It happens to this day where like I'll meet somebody. I'm standing at the in the mall or something, and they hear my accent and they start talking to me, and then they're like, "Hey, you just come to my house." Listen,
Exactly.
when I first got here, I was like, these people trying to, because I'm from the hood. I'm like, these niggas trying to set me up. They trying to kill me, man. You know what I'm saying? Why he invite me to his house? Like and so I would never go because I'm like, where I'm from, you just don't go to people's houses that just randomly invite you off the street. That's that. But I realized
Mona Lisa.
that is the welcoming. It's like they want me to come over and hang, and they want to feed me and all of that good stuff. So I think also as we talk about the negativity that we're seeing online, and it has been ramped up. And I wrote an article recently on the diaspora wars and what it is. And there's an article that came out, not an article. There is U.S. policy. Nabrinsky is his last name, right? He was a CIA agent, and this is in the 60s. And this is when Africa is having this wave of independence, right? Simultaneously, there's the rise of the Black Power movement. This is simultaneously taking place. The Panthers are rising, and and Africa is getting independence, right? I think Ghana was the first nation in the 50, like 57 or something like that, and then across. And the CIA created a policy to ensure that Black Americans and African continental Africans do not join forces and unite, right? So this division is old and so we see the rise of the diaspora wars and all of these people online arguing with each other. Oh, I don't like them Africans and African booty scratcher and Black Americans ain't got no and all of this stuff going back and forth. But what I as painful and as irritating as it can be when you sit back and watch, it's like siblings arguing. And the reason why, because we're not arguing with Chinese people about the Chinese diaspora. We're not arguing with um, Jews or Russians. We're arguing with other Black people because we recognize that this is still family. One of the greatest things that I saw happen was in the midst of one of these diaspora wars, one of these threads, a white boy came on the thread, and I think it was during the Zulu, like the New Orleans Zulu thing, the that was a heated thing because we got the Zulus in New Orleans and the Zulu organization in New Orleans, and the Zulus here, and they saw the parade. They didn't understand it, but as they were going back and forth, and it wasn't even really New Orleanians because it was just Black Americans going back and forth with South Africans. A white boy jumped in the comments, and simultaneously, both sides begin to tell a white boy, "This ain't a conversation for you. Why are you here?" You see what I'm saying? It is like you
Yeah,
jumping
no,
in
I
on
get
something.
it. I watched your video when you were at the Kenyan University and you spoke about it to say the way it's unfolding, it shows that these people recognize each other as family, at the
Right.
end of the day. But the thing is, Dr. Assad, brother Assad, uh, I think it's a natural reaction to people who are encountering each other for the first time, right?
Yeah.
It has to happen. And then they are going to wear each other out. They'll get tired of it. Then they'll embrace and life will move on. Like one will
Exactly.
realize that you can't wish me away, and the other will realize you can't wish me away.
Exactly.
My best friend in high school is someone we actually had a fist fight with. We had a fist fight, and after that fist fight, we became best friends,
Best friends. That's how it is.
Exactly.
That is exactly how it is. The person you done cursed out, y'all done got into it because it becomes a mutual respect there, you know. And
Yes,
I
thank
think
you.
that for Black Americans, so for South Africa, Black South Africans, you guys know more about Black Americans than we do about South Africa. Thomas said something earlier. He's like, most people didn't know South Africa existed 7 years ago. They just thought it was a region. Now, I think I was a little better than that. I knew South Africa existed, but you still ask people, there's people that I still have conversations with, and I'll be like, I live in South Africa, and they think I'm talking about a direction, like I live in the
Origin.
southern part of Africa, right? But for South Africans, y'all been watching the Cosby Show. Y'all been listening to Black music, Black
Mhm.
American music and stuff. So you've been watching, Hollywood TV and stuff. So y'all have more familiarity, even if it's through mass media, which is a lot of propaganda. But you have some familiarity with Black Americans. We are just now learning about South Africans, right? We're
Mhm.
just now learning really about the continent as a whole, even though we've been Pan-African, right, in orientation forever.
Mhm.
It's like it was all in just theory, like, oh yeah, we are Africans, right? But
Mhm.
this is really the first time in history where you have significant amounts of African Americans actually touching foot on the continent, right? This and
I
people
wanna.
don't,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
I was saying that, do you realize, I feel like at this point, South Africans that may be more in touch with our history than our younger generation.
Yeah,
And I say that because I can go on social media and see 20-year-olds posting music from the 90s that they never even lived through. But you
right.
can't play that for kids of our, you know what I'm saying, of our generation's children or our younger siblings, of my generation. They wouldn't even know what music you talk about. They can't name one
Right.
song even from the early 2000s, let alone the 90s. These kids that weren't even born in the 90s, born in the early 2000s, listen to that music that the ones here have never even heard before. Couldn't even name
Oh,
one song.
slow jam Sundays in South Africa, brother. When you
That's
hear
still
on
the thing.
Sunday, they listening
Yeah.
to old school R. They listen to and they be listening to cuts that was on the album, not even the radio version. Not even the radio hits. They be listening to cut number 7. Like, damn,
I
nigga, they
mean,
didn't even come out. Yeah,
You
they
that
know,
wasn't
they
even on the
legit,
radio.
they are more in touch with our history over there in their young generation than our generation is over here.
Mm.
So
But
I feel
but
like honestly, and we man, that's why I can't wait to get back over there. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah. But that's a failure on our part, though. In terms of our children, that's a failure on our part of not teaching them. Like, and it's strange because it happened so fast. It happened so fast. When I can remember being in high school. My friend named Clyde. He was from New York, and he had moved down south. So New Yorkers are always been a little bit radical and all that type of stuff. And we was arguing about Dr. King versus Malcolm X, right? I'm an old Southern Baptist boy raised in the church, and I was go figure. I became a Muslim, but I was so Dr. King, and he was Malcolm. These children don't argue. They argue about Lil Wayne, not even Lil Wayne, because he old too. They arguing about NBA young boy or Lil Durk or Kodak Black. That's where their frame of reference of history and who has made an impact on their life is these rappers or whatever have you. And that's because we have not shown them and we have not taught them. My children get mad, or they used to get mad. I used to make them sit down and watch Malcolm X speeches. And they're like, why are you doing this? I said, you need to know this, boy. You're a Muslim. Or there was this great YouTube documentary that had about, I don't know, about 8, 9 parts, and it was on the history of Africa. And I made them sit down and watch that. They was heated. You know what I'm saying? They rather sit and play the game, but they can't say that I didn't introduce it to them, that they don't know. And then the conversations that my wife and I had, we purposely talk about things to keep this kind of history and
of
who
course.
we are alive. Brother Scott, what's going on? Brother Scott is a brother from Ohio who is now here in Waterfall. You're on mute, brother. We can't hear you. You're
I
on
just
mute.
watched his video yesterday. Him and his wife.
You gotta take yourself off.
Can you
There you
guys
go.
hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, brother Scott. What's going on?
Yeah, what's up, man? What's up? Yeah, I'm here.
I just started following
Uh,
y'all, brother.
oh, you started following us? Oh, well, thanks a lot, man. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm in PMB right now, which is the capital city of the province of KZN. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, we were here for a wedding, and goodness, oh, no. So we were here for a wedding, Zulu wedding. And talk about a cultural immersion, man. It was off the chain, man.
So was it were both parties Zulu, like husband and wife, or was one from
No, one party is Xhosa and the other one is Zulu. Her mother is, but the one who's Zulu's mom is actually a Venda, you know.
okay.
And so you have Vendas, Zulu, and Xhosa
No, that
representing.
was lit. That
Yeah,
must have been lit.
he said that was lit.
It was It was incredible, man. That's all I can say. I had a chance to partake in it too as well, and yeah, it was just a wonderful experience, you know. So we're at the guest house now. Uh, wow, it's weird. We're at the guest house. And you can hear my daughter in the background. So, but no, it was cool, man. It was cool, and it's a pleasure to meet you, brother, as well. The other gentleman that's on the live.
You
Man,
know, I want to say something, guys. It may sound bizarre for me to say, like God loves you guys, because I'm telling you as a South African, the kind of embrace that you're experiencing in South Africa has never been experienced by any nation coming into South Africa. You know,
Mm.
like South Africans are extremely territorial. You know, when people say we are xenophobic, we are extremely territorial. But the way like South Africans have opened up to Black Americans, Like I can already imagine the kind of embrace that you enjoyed in that wedding you were in, because I'm South African. I probably I can tell how they probably treated you there. Ne? Nobody,
Oh,
nobody
oh,
has ever been treated like that coming into South Africa. Like there's a welcoming and there's an embrace. Nobody has ever been embraced this much. That's why I say God loves you. Like nobody has ever experienced this. It's almost like God went ahead of you before you arrived. And I'm
Mashallah.
estimating that, people say South Africa has the largest Indian population outside of India.
Yeah.
And I'm
mhm.
estimating that it may well be that this country will have the largest population of Black Americans outside of America.
Mm.
Mm, that would be
That's
awesome.
very true. Because if you think about it, we're probably the least traveled people in the world,
Yeah.
especially with the power that we have to travel. We are the least traveled people. We just started, and SA is definitely our only place that we can easily merge into and feel more at home than where we came. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
else even has that opportunity, to be honest. Because, like you
And
said, it's the second largest population of Indians, but I bet you they don't come and feel at home like we would, you
right.
know?
No, the embrace that you are getting, you may think I'm exaggerating because you are not seeing it from my eyes. But for someone who's 40, here I am forgetting my own age. Someone who's 41 going on 42, like I've seen a lot. Like I know South Africans very well. And I know history as well. I know our first contact with white people. I know our first contact with Indians, etc. Nobody. And also, the embrace that you are enjoying is not only limited to blacks. I think it's multiracial. you know, even white South Africans warm up to black Americans in a unique way. I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken on that part, but I can speak on good
We
authority
have to
when
be
it comes
careful about
to.
that though,
No,
brother
that's true.
Caribou.
Yeah.
All
Let me
right.
tell you why
No,
we
I
have
know
to be
you had an
careful.
episode with that
Yeah.
white family.
We have to be careful. So you know the story I'm about to tell, and the reason why I say we have to be careful with that is because when continental Africans go to the United States, they get told the same thing about Black
Oh, I see.
Americans that my ex neighbor told me about Black South Africans. So
That we
Scott
are
and Thomas, I
lazy,
don't know who.
etc.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all familiar with the story, but I the house I lived in
No, we are
prior.
familiar. Dr.
Yeah,
Asad, the similarities between Black Americans and South Africans are insane. Like
yeah,
the thing of Africans from other parts of Africa coming into America and calling you lazy, your women are
yeah.
this, the men are that, etc., is exactly what we have experienced as South Africans. And in fact, when I was chatting with another Black American who was noticing the parallels, he says, soon after you had won the civil rights in America, that's when the influx of Africans from what you call continental Africans
Hmm.
began to happen, almost like a replacement community, to say,
Exactly. But
yeah,
what I'm saying is when we so let me say this. Um, I've I've met a lot of white South Africans who have been very nice, very hospitable, very happy to meet an American, and they didn't call me the K word or nothing like that, right? But the one white South African who I met, who was my neighbor, what he told me was, the black South African don't go. He told me not to hang in Soweto, not to go to Soweto, and he told me that black South Africans are lazy and that they've ruined the country, right? So we have to be careful not to look at that type of, if I was a stupid person, I would listen to him and fall into the trap and then be looking at my brothers and sisters here in South Africa like, oh, y'all lazy,
no,
y'all destroy the
Dr.
country.
Assad, not if you were a stupid person. If you were an African from another country, you would
Yeah,
have warmed up to that type of rhetoric. But because you come from a similar background as us,
exactly.
we just spoke
Yes.
about it earlier. You understood
Yes.
immediately what was happening.
Well, exactly. I peeped the
They've
Yeah.
game
never
early.
had a proximity to whiteness. That's why
Mm.
their goal once they get over here is to have a proximity to
Proximity to
whiteness.
white. Exactly.
Yes, but we
Yeah.
had it undesirably. We never asked for it, just like y'all never
Exactly.
asked for it. So there is nothing for us to appreciate. We try and get away from it.
Right.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
and
Exactly. That's a
that,
perfect way of saying it. We've already
that is a
we
good
had
way
our
of
proximity
stating
to
it.
whiteness, and we good on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it ain't
No, I
real.
was gonna no, I mean what you're saying is absolutely true. And I think is even though most of the content was colonized and the colonizers put different restrictions in different places about what businesses, like in East Africa, what businesses Ugandans could get in. Kenya, to a certain degree, was like a settler colony, similar to South Africa, but it's still a different dynamic. I think several on several different fronts. Even though people fought for their independence, you didn't necessarily have the same type of leadership like a Steve Biko, for an example. You know,
Right.
talking about Black consciousness. People still kind of identify more so with their tribal ethnic lineage. And then once they got into power, power was only shared amongst those members in your tribe if you got into a seat of government, for an example. So it wasn't like a Pan African or a Black liberation story, oftentimes, unfortunately. So
Hmm.
we were kind of just like in America, in North America, in the United States, we were fortunate to have certain type of civil rights leaders. There were many of them, more than Dr. King, more than Malcolm X. There were a lot of them that rose up, that were able to organize for many decades on a national level. You didn't have that same, not saying you didn't have activists, let's say in Brazil, but you didn't have the same intensity of it. So,
Hmm.
because you have to liberate a people or to get people to stand up for their rights, you have to somehow convince them that they're worthy of rights. Number one, you have to deprogram their thinking. And so there's a lot of inner work that has to be done. And if you haven't had leadership or someone or a body of leaders that were really steadfast with that kind of thinking, then you're not going to have the same type of stalwart stand against what's oppressing
Hmm.
you. And so I think the situation in a lot of other African countries, one thing I had to learn, I remember one time I had asked some East Africans, because I would go there quite often, I asked them, was colonialism good? And I was shocked by the responses because probably over 50% said it was. And so I had to do some digging, and I had to, and what I began to learn was from, I guess you would say, more conscious Ugandans and Kenyans, was that a lot of times in their education system, even though it's ran by, their country's Board of Education or Ministry of Education, a lot of times they're still being taught history from the perspective of what the British taught about history. And so it's not taught on a critical level, like where you're kind of critiquing, okay, what were the pros and cons of this? How did it negatively impact us? A lot of times it's kind of presented as if the white man brought civilization to them.
Right.
So if no one is really taking, you might hear teaching that challenges that at a university level. If you took some type of history course on colonialism and you have a professor that really challenges the past and looks at it and really examines it, but oftentimes they're not. And a lot of it, I think, this is my, I had to think about why is this the case? And then when I think about some of the leaders, like you look at a country like Uganda, what kind of leadership did they get after independence? So you get someone like a Milton Obote, who was a dictator, who gets ousted by Idi Amin, who was another dictator.
Dictator.
Now you
Yep.
have Museveni, who's been in power since '86, another dictator, right? And so essentially, a dictator wants to hoard power. They're not interested in making sure that people are liberated, because if people are properly educated and liberated, they become less easier for you to control. So unfortunately, not many leaders emerge out of a system that was oppressive and took the Mandela route. What I mean by that is Mandela stayed in for one term. He could have got reelected. He could have amassed as much power as he wanted, but he set up a precedent of democracy, right? He
Yes.
saw what happened to the nations around him. He saw what happened to Zimbabwe, what happened in Mozambique, what happened in Angola. And the ANC, as much as we can criticize the ANC today, they have been around for a long enough time, and they did legitimately want to give their people a sense of autonomy. And then you had all these other activists that arose in South Africa as well. So a lot of times now, let me go back to a lot of African continental nations. So you have dictators oftentimes taking over the helms of leadership. Dictators want to keep people docile, number one, but also a big part of their revenue support does not come by appeasing the voters that live in their country. It comes into appealing to the aid organizations. So they're looking for foreign aid to come in, right? And so if a major percentage of your GDP is coming through the IMF and World Bank, then
Yeah.
what you have to present is a tore up country that just needs sympathy. I mean, there needs to be compassion, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
you're not presenting a people that need help to rehabilitate themselves, but instead they can do nothing for themselves. So even those leaders kind of present that to the IMF and World Bank, and so as a result, when these Western nations come in and they dig a well, they provide something, some service that's lacking in a community. Now these white folks that were over us as colonizers, now they're coming as our saviors. You see what I'm saying? And so, like a Mzungu in these nations, man, is high, can be given unmerited high esteem. You know what I mean? And so for them, not everyone, but for many people,
Hello.
proximity to whiteness means, hey, maybe I get a visa, maybe I get a green card, maybe I get a
Right.
scholarship, maybe I get some financial support, so on and so forth. So when they come to the United States, you know, that's what they're aiming for, is to get that proximity. I remember one time I preached at this one congregation. It was in a slum in Kampala. And so it was at a conference. Towards the end of the conference, they wanted me to pray over the children, to bless the children. And so as I was being introduced, because the ministry had a school. So as I was being introduced to the children, I remember the pastor telling the children that, oh, here's Scott. He comes to the United States and he gets to talk to the Mzungu. When you guys love to talk to the Mzungu one day. Mzungu is their word for foreigner, but it's actually a colloquial term that means white, right? A
Right.
white
Yeah.
person from abroad. And I'm cringing on the inside. I'm thinking to myself, these black kids gonna walk up to some white person, the wrong one, a Karen, they gonna call the police on them if they ever come to the US. My mind is just thinking about all the all the negative, the flawed way of that thinking. And
Again,
I told him,
yeah.
I said, no, the blessing is having a relationship with God, not talking to a Mzungu.
Mm.
So unfortunately, a lot of people are being conditioned to think this way. And so they probably might think that an American, a Black American, because we have proximity to whiteness, they might come to the US and see certain parts of Detroit or the Bronx or the east side of Cleveland and see the blighted buildings, see the ghettos, see the hood and think, oh, they must be lazy because they had proximity to these people who came and dug wells for us, and they're not
Right.
taking advantage of the opportunity, not really knowing the past, not knowing everything that went on in
Redlining.
its fullest extent.
Right.
You know,
I've even heard some people state the same thing about South Africa. Oh, the whites handed them a country and they've mismanaged it.
wow,
And
come
I'm like,
on.
they were never handed anything. They had to fight for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Let
yeah,
me
it's a big disconnect that people may have because of how they've been conditioned, unfortunately.
Mm.
can I jump in on that part? You said a lot of things that I wanted to jump in on, which are critical. For an example, when you talk about Mandela, Few people
Mm.
know, except those who have read his book, he didn't even want to take the first term,
Right.
right? He was actually forced to take the first term to give the country some level of credibility, you know, through his reputation. Now, they tried to pressure him into a second term, but he refused. He said, no, I have to retire so that I can spend time with my grandchildren. But he wasn't retiring for that reason. He was sitting at home, you know. I often say it was a blessing for South Africa to be liberated last because we learned from the mistakes which were made by these other countries, more especially dictatorship, because it becomes easy to convince people that colonization was good for them when the only memory they have is of an African dictator who was more brutal than anything they remember, you know.
Exactly.
Right.
When you are let down more by your black leader than anything you remember collectively, you start to warm up towards whatever came before, you know, more
Mm-hmm.
especially because this leader is an antithesis to this colonization. So if he's wrong, then the other side must have been right. You see,
Right.
uh,
Right. That's true.
exactly.
So I
So,
That's
wanted to
true.
no,
oh,
I
okay.
wanted to say that I've witnessed this happen this very year in my own hometown. So I grew up much everything was black around me, 70% black in New Orleans, right? So life was black. We've always had black mayors, black police chief, black city council, black school board, black sheriff. It's just black stuff going on, right? Well, when black leadership took over in the late 70s, a few things happened. All of the oil companies that were headquartered in New Orleans, they moved to Houston. Large revenue loss, job loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this prosperous city, prosperous now black led city, uh, instantly became impoverished, right? The state of Louisiana, the way they distribute taxes or take taxes from what literally New Orleans pays half of the revenue of the state of Louisiana, right?
I'm
About
sorry. I'm
43.
gonna head out. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna get myself
And
together for these kids wake up.
all right, my brother, always a pleasure
I'm gonna
talking to
listen
you,
to the
man.
live though. All right.
All right, my
Sure,
brother,
sure, sure.
peace.
All
All
right. Nice
right.
to meet
Take
y'all.
care.
So about half of the revenue, about 43% of the state's revenue comes from New Orleans. So we are paying for places that we don't have nothing to do with, right? But this year there was a white lady who ran for mayor. She happened to win. And the comments were, what has black leadership done? We didn't
You
had
see,
black folks
Mm-hmm.
in charge, and black people ain't done this. And they without knowing any of the history. We had black people
Right.
since the 70s. And they ain't done.
Right.
I mean, and so now they've elected what we what those of us who we call it the colonizer, right? We've elected the
Right.
colonizer to be the mayor, and now she's talking about furloughing city employees. You see what I'm saying? And
Right.
you
Right.
feel me?
Right.
So it
Right.
is it is very similar to that not knowing that history and then having black leadership. And I will say some of our black leaders in the city have failed, just like we've had those dictators. We had corrupt politicians. Our last mayor went to jail, went to prison. Our current, the mayor that just lost, well, she didn't lose re-election. She couldn't run again. She's indicted, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
has been some corruption going on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
black folk getting power and power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there's some problems there. But the problem is when you say, well, let's go back and give it to the white people. Let's go back and give it to the people who actually created the conditions that keep us impoverished. That you
Right.
let me
know,
let me jump in with the
Right.
South African context. Firstly, it offends me when people say it's because of white people, because a lot of black people, I mean, black people who are successful around whiteness, they don't succeed because of white people. In fact, they succeed in spite of white
oh
people
right,
because white
Exactly.
people do everything to stop them from success. And they actually have to fight and break through all these walls that are created for them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for someone who has to fight that hard, to achieve things which he was blocked from, and tomorrow to be told that you achieved them because of the same people who were preventing you from these things. It's offensive. When ANC came into power, the government was actually in debt, right? The government that was going out, firstly, they stole like crazy. Like they stole like it was going out of fashion. And then they were trying to sabotage the black government so that they come into a bankrupt state that is riddled with debt and limited infrastructure. Because remember, the infrastructure, most of it was built to serve a minority,
Right.
you see. So when ANC came in, now I actually feel bad having to give credit to the ANC because I don't like them right now, you know. And I was born into the ANC, by the way. But they've made so many mistakes. And I didn't have a problem with the ANC that was accused of all these things because I don't subscribe to propaganda. Like we were raised in a very political background. I'm not vulnerable to propaganda. But what annoyed me is an ANC that doesn't know how to deal with the threat. You know, it was just found wanting in how to deal with the problems that were being created for them. So the first thing they did was to pay off a debt they inherited from apartheid. You see, they started off on a debt that was created by a government that was oppressing them. You see how offensive it is to have to pay a debt that was incurred in the course of your oppression. You see, but out of maturity, they swallowed the bitter pill and they paid off that debt. I think the last, it was fully paid off in 2007, the apartheid debt. But you don't quote me on that. But it was Mbeki's term. And then the debt which came after then was incurred later on, right? Another thing that I know from having two uncles who were in the MK, they told me one thing. They said two things happened when we got freedom, right? Firstly, us who were genuinely ANC, because the cornerstone of the ANC was principle. You know, you have to be principled. That's why without principle, we are nothing, guys. You know, that's why there's a saying in the ANC that says, to be an ANC leader, you have to pass through the eye of the needle. You know, you have to be that thorough, you know, as a human being in order to become an ANC leader. So this uncle of mine said to me, two things happened. Us who were actually real ANC, we joined the security agencies in order to defend the revolution, right? They became soldiers, they became police officers because they knew the enemy was not done, right? That is why a lot of what people don't tell the world, a lot of Afrikaners were trying to overthrow the government, the ANC government with violence, but they were just outclassed, you know. A lot of arms caches were getting caught on farms for a long time. You'll hear a report that an arms cache was caught on a farm, an arms cache was caught on a farm because they were preparing to overthrow the ANC with arms. The one that actually manifested was Buremach, right? Those people actually launched an attack where they bombed a railway station in Soweto. They were arrested the very next day. You are talking about a government of people who were trained by Russia, Cuba, etc., and you are taking chances on those people. They were caught the very next day, right? And they did long stints in prison. They were white Afrikaners who tried to overthrow the government with violence. So for the ANC to last this long, it took brilliant leadership, which they don't get credit for. Otherwise, they would have been overthrown a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So to say we succeeded because of proximity to wise is to discount how much we actually had to fight against the same wise to get this far, you know? So he said when they went to the security agencies to protect the revolution, to defend the revolution, others ran to the offices to eat the money, you see? Unfortunately, those who ran to eat the money hijacked the organization as you see it in so much trouble right now, you know?
Well, I think that is the, you know, the lay of the land for like the entire Black liberation struggle. You will always have folk who will look to the past and try to make it more rosier than it was, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, so but I think the beautiful thing is that we have the knowledge. Like we know better.
Right.
We still have people who experienced it. You know, you even with folk who say, "Oh, life was better under segregation." You hear black people say that.
Oh,
Yeah, you
can't
hear black
stand
people
that when
say
they
that.
say that.
Yeah, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
you have
like
no, no,
I understand the sentiment, like because my
right,
daddy is one of those people who will say that, and what he means is that he had his own community. He didn't have to like deal with like white folks every day because he was trapped in this black space. But the reason why we needed integration was because it's not because we wanted proximity to whiteness. We wanted proximity to resources. When you have
Mhm.
a white high school that has a brand new gym, they have brand new books, they have air conditioners, they have a brand new building, and your black high
exactly,
school is doesn't have books and it's falling apart. You're like, no, I want to go where my tax dollars are going and being spent properly so that I can have my
exactly.
children be properly educated, right? But black folk don't hear that. Well, we had our own businesses under
Yeah,
segregation. And what I understand, segregation was about control. Like
right.
it's not a
Yeah, we can look at things, past nostalgically and just remove a lot of context from
right,
it.
Mhm.
Because if it was
exactly,
so great, then why would people fight hard to desegregate? You know
right,
what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So the communities we were segregated into were divested. A lot of those companies or businesses that were there were still owned by Jews and Italians and other groups of people.
right.
Still couldn't get loans. You know what I mean? As you stated,
Mhm.
we were in schools that were defunded. When I was growing up as a kid, we would go to these. My mother was she grew up very poor. She was the youngest of nine kids. So they moved around the city a lot. Everywhere
Mm.
on the east side of Cleveland, they lived. So we go through a neighborhood. Here's my little one. We go
Yeah.
through a
Nana.
neighborhood. She's trying to wave at you. We
Oh,
go
I get
through a
it.
She
Hello,
waved back.
Nana.
we would
Oh
go
man.
through a neighborhood and my mom would be like, yeah, I remember this building used to be here. And she would tell me these stories like, yeah, we lived in this apartment building and a teacher lived over here and a doctor lived over here. And I used to be like, a doctor lived in y'all's neighborhood. Y'all was
Yeah.
poor. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And then I realized as I got older, well, wait a second, a black doctor could only live in the ghetto,
Right.
right?
Mm.
So once we got housing, they made housing discrimination wrong, and black people could move out into Shaker Heights, Cleveland Heights, in the Heights. Those are the suburbs in Cleveland. Once they had those opportunities, they jumped on it, and you really can't be mad at them because they were living in neighborhoods that didn't have much to offer them. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, what do I have to do? To try to get better education for my children and stuff like that. So yeah, we can look at these things nostalgically and just miss so much
Mhm.
context.
Exactly.
As you stated about the situation in Louisiana, same thing in Cleveland. You know how people get up and say, oh, democratically ran cities are this and this and that. You guys forget there was white flight. And it wasn't only white people moving to the suburbs, the businesses left, the industries left.
Exactly.
They moved. They didn't want to be in proximity to
Oh,
black folks
by
in
the way,
certain areas, you know. So,
eh,
a black mayor comes into office and like Tupac said, he's got to make a dollar out of 15 cents with limited resources. He's not
Yeah.
getting the funding. He's got to figure out a way to make it happen. And
Right.
a lot of these guys are pretty brilliant at what they've done. It's just what they've been given. It's like black people are always given um, scraps and
Right.
told to make it, even when they come into power. So a lot of times um, this type of thinking, unfortunately, people are just thinking about like, man, I need to eat last week. So that's what's on
Right.
their mind. They're thinking about their burdens, their problems, and they're not really thinking, okay, wait a second, let me look back, see what happened. You know, so you know, it's just a matter of, I guess, trying to educate people on, as the one gentleman stated, not to easily fall for propaganda.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
That's the key thing that white supremacy has used very well, is propaganda. And propaganda will always catch fire in someone who's ignorant, who's devoid of knowledge and
Absolutely.
critical thinking, right? And only concerned about this moment and not thinking about the past 10 years and the next 10 years. So
Right.
that's leadership thinking. A good leader, a problem solver, thinks about, well, what's happened up until this point, and where are we trying to go? Right.
Yeah.
But if you just keep people short sighted, like, okay, if you look at elections in America, okay, yeah, Trump is radical, but the Republican Party has wanted for decades to dismantle the Department of
Department of
Education.
Education. Yep.
They wanted,
Exactly.
that's one of the things they've wanted to dismantle. They wanted to get rid of healthcare, right? They want to privatize everything. Their message really hasn't changed, right? But people think every election cycle something new is coming. No, it's not. It's the same old song. But you have
Exactly.
to know history. You got to be able to connect the dots. And unfortunately, you know, a good politician, good or bad, understands people very well, not just policy
Mhm.
people. So you understand people are right now in the moment. They don't read, they don't research. The average person doesn't. And so they just keep projecting something long enough, or better yet, influence some of the podcasters you're listening to,
Right.
you know, and think they're giving you some red pill knowledge or some manosphere stuff. And really, they're just leading you down a pathway
Mhm.
to vote against your own self interest, to try to prop yourself up above another group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so I don't know. Maybe there needs to be a book written on this. You know, when I
It
was
is
a
a
kid,
book.
I remember.
No, no,
Uh-huh.
it's
You know,
actually a book. Noam Chomsky wrote a book. I forgot who his co-author was, and it was called Manufacturing Consent,
yes.
Uh-huh.
right? In which he talks about how propaganda, right, is essentially his thesis is that propaganda is stronger than the United States military. The way that they
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
use propaganda throughout the world, throughout black communities, that is the real way that they subjugate. It is not that the military force is only, I guess, for like backup, right? But they
Yeah,
subjugate people through the use
the
of
last
propaganda.
resort.
And you mentioned another word, context. And what people as researchers, we know is this to understand context, it's like when you read a text, right? You have to read pretext, text, and post text to get the
Mm-hmm.
context. You see what I'm saying?
Contact.
Mm.
So you're talking about the past. You have to know the past. You have to know the present, and you have to kind of predict the future, right? How does
Mm-hmm.
this, how does the past, how does the pretext impact the text to see the and to impact the post text to understand the context? And that's the problem. We have a lot of people who are just living in the text. They are just
Mm.
living in the present moment, and they're not thinking about the future, nor do they have any knowledge of the past. And when you put this together with propaganda, you can get 15% of black men to vote for Donald Trump without any tangible, right? And,
Right.
and you can get all kind of just foolishness. You can get um, black people here in South Africa supporting the DA. I mean, that's you see what I'm saying? Like you get
Mhm.
all kind of weird stuff going on when you're not talking
Mm-hmm.
about the actual context of the matter.
Contact.
But y'all, I think we've been on
You
here
know,
2 hours, and
all right, all right.
I'm starting to
No,
get
before
sleepy.
you close, I wanted to say, you know, for example, the ANC successfully took money out of South Africa, you know, and they also successfully brought money into South Africa.
Right.
You know when you talk about capital flights, you remember the sanctions campaign, and Black Americans played a prominent role into getting the USA to sanction South Africa, right?
Right.
Now, that was ANC causing capital to go out of South Africa.
Yes.
taking money out of South Africa. Now
Divest.
they are coming into an economy which they had sabotaged themselves, you know, firstly, and also was sabotaged by the outgoing apartheid as well. And then they had to deal with that. Imagine how much it takes to be able to tie it together up to the South Africa that you know today,
Mm.
because white ministers are a recent GNU phenomenon, but for the most part, it's actually been led by the black government. For example, Nelson Mandela went around the world campaigning for investors to now come back to South Africa. People don't know that. Like, he literally used his image to attract investment. For example, Richard Branson came here specifically to invest in South Africa on the invitation of Nelson Mandela. you know, the World Cup 2010, we got it because Mandela was literally snatched out of retirement to say, no, you have to help us campaign. The only way we can get this thing is if you come in. Now, we had this song that says, Nelson Mandela, Sabela uyabizwa, uyabizwa, Sabela uyabizwa. It literally translates to Nelson Mandela, respond, you are being called, He was a dutiful soldier until the very end, even as an old man. Then we had another one that says, and this is going to sound like I'm supporting Zuma or anything, but I'm making a point that we are not susceptible to propaganda. It says, wenze Zuma awuphendule wena ulawulwa propaganda. Awusitshela ukuthi uZuma wenzeni. It says, tell us what Zuma has done wrong. You are being controlled by propaganda. So it's literally a song on propaganda and its influence on perception. Again, you took it to manufactured consent. You think you are consenting, but your consent has actually been doctored. No, thank you so much, man. I enjoyed the chat, though.
No, man, I love this, man. Thanks for everybody that hung around. It's still like 50 people on the live. So, man, we appreciate y'all. Now, remember on December 14th, we will have the first in the series of monthly diaspora dialogues. I'll start posting the link and all that good stuff. I forgot what the first topic is. I have to go back and double check. And each time, so I'll start off the first dialogue, but we also want to bring in like some of my colleagues at Wits to maybe, who are historians or economists or who can actually speak from an academic standpoint. But then we also want to, as Sly Stone would say, everyday people, right? The regular people, because academicians have, they get caught up in the ivory towers and they're all caught up in the numbers and facts and figures. And sometimes you just need the regular everyday person to make it plain for you. So I thank both of you brothers for jumping on. This was a great conversation. Shout out to Brother
No,
Thomas.
we thank
Shout
you,
out to
man.
everybody in the comments who I
Thank you
forgot
very
to even go
much.
through the comments. I don't know what they talk about. They might be on whatever. Who knows? But man, Brother Scott, when y'all coming back?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
All right, cool, man. If y'all ain't doing nothing, we have our family dinners over here on Sundays. Y'all more than welcome to join us.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and Caribou, if you and Josie, you're more than welcome to join too, brother.
Yeah, I'm in Josie, but I'm gonna send you an invite maybe for one of these days during the holidays to come spend time with us. I'm not gonna kill you. No.
I'm better about it now, brother. I'm better about it. That was when I first got here. People invited me to their house. I'm like, man, I need a pistol, man. If there's anything I'm gonna change, is the gun laws in South Africa. I'm from the South. Everybody got a gun. It just makes sense. It just makes sense to me.
So I want to teach you guys a small trick as a parting shot. When you greet gents, like when you greet other guys in South Africa, you don't say hello,
Mhm.
right? Don't do that.
Okay, what
You
you
must
say?
say hola. Either you say hola or
Hola?
you say sure,
Hold on.
right?
Sure. Mhm.
Right. When you say hello, it's for women. You say hello, it's almost like a gender-based greeting. Like when you say
Ah,
hello, people may
Um,
accept it because they can see that you don't know better, right? But
Ah,
either you say hola, that's how you greet a dude, or you say sure. When you say sure, you've said everything, or
okay.
you can even say twice, sure, sure.
Sure,
That
sure.
works. Like sharp,
Sure,
sure,
sure.
you can say sure,
Chop
sure.
shop, okay.
Yeah, when
Okay.
you say sharp,
Okay.
sharp, that's when you say cool, ne? But I was just making an example. But when you are greeting, you say sure, sure.
Sure, sure.
Sure,
All
sure.
right,
Yeah,
I got that one.
All
Or
right.
I'm
Yeah, I
hola.
got
telling you.
that.
All right, I'm gonna give you
You'll be
a last one.
surprised.
Where I'm from, the way you say, and this is some street shit. The way you say hello is whoa. I swear to God, if anybody is from New Orleans in the comments or been to New Orleans, that's the way we say hello to each other, like street people. Now, not elders or whatever, but if it's somebody, you do whoa. That's it. Whoa. That
But
means
you have to
everything. That means
pronounce it
hello.
right,
That's got to be a New Orleans thing,
Dr.
ain't it?
Asad.
We
Yeah,
Don't
it's a
ain't,
New
we
say,
ain't
Orleans
never
thing.
did that in Cleveland.
don't,
No, it's whoa. That's it.
Ooh,
That's all it means. Y'all have a good night, fellas.
Dr. Asad, don't
Oh,
say I misled
good
you
night.
if you say Ola. We don't say Ola. You have to pronounce it right, or better use Shosho. Sure or
sure,
Shosho. You
sure.
must say Ola,
For sure.
Ola,
Hola.
Oh,
Ola.
no.
When you
Like
Oh,
greet,
no.
Spanish. That's
Ola.
Spanish, huh?
Don't say Ola
Oh,
like
no.
the Spanish Ola. Just say
Oh,
Ola. You have to
Oh,
practice
no.
it. But the easier one is Shosho.
sure, sure.
So, so.
Yeah, you just say sure. If you are greeting, for example, it works both ways. If you are greeting, you say, sure, Dr. Assad, I'm greeting you, sure, And then
Uh-huh.
when you say goodbye, no, sure, sure. You see, it's going to confuse you a lot, but you'll get used to it the more you use it. No,
Oh no,
thanks,
I'm getting
guys.
it. All right, y'all have a good night, brothers.
Sure,
All
sure.
right.